guess we're ready to go ahead and open this Gilliam County Court regular meeting. It's Wednesday, March 21st. We're today at the North Gilliam County Rural Fire Protection District building in Arlington, Oregon. So first order of business is the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I do have I have an adjustment to the agenda. At 10:15, we have opening of the sealed bids for the 92 cat grader. I also would like to add an Oregon Department of Transportation IGA with Gilliam County for the Rope Creek project. While we have Dewey, I think I lost Dewey. While we have him here, we can go over that also.
I think we got several other things dealing with rock. Well, he's here too then.
Yeah, so there's a few other things that might be involved with that too. Specifically the soil and water conservation CAFFA project. So, okay, and also the Historical Society request for it.
Right,
so,
that's what I said.
Yep. So we have two of those.
Yeah.
Anyway, I guess we'll go ahead and get going here. First thing on the agenda is public comment. Individuals wishing to address the county court may do so at this time and at other times throughout the meeting. Speakers are asked to raise their hand and be recognized by the chair, give name and address, and limit comments to about 3 minutes. Do we have anybody wishing to have public comment? Okay. This is always odd. What do we do for the next 10 minutes kind of thing? Move on. Yeah. We, I guess one of the things that we could begin kind of talking about is item 2.4 on the agenda. It was just handed to you, so I thought maybe we could kind of go through it just a little bit. We do have it budgeted for getting a vehicle for the motor tool. We had talked to Terry about looking at maybe another Malibu that we had. Her conversation with Wright Chevrolet, they felt they had a really good deal on an Impala. So the issue with these is I believe the prices are good until, what was it?
April 2nd is what it says on that one, and I think it's the same for the, I think it's the same for the Impala, but I do know that the Impala is, the promotion is over before the next court meeting, April 4th.
Right. So the promotion was 20% off of the Impalas. We have on page 1 is a 2018 LS model. The next 2 pages of Impalas are the LT models. Just a couple of things I saw looking at these were the head restraint, rear two-way adjustable seats was one of the things that I noticed as far as the difference. That was about it. There's a few other things in there, but.
So we're looking for sedan.
Yeah, I guess, we still need to.
What are we getting rid of?
Probably at this time, it may be one of the Impalas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I see a Tahoe listed here.
I think that was just the back end of this page.
Yeah, I think it is, Mike. I don't think it.
Okay.
Yeah. With Terry, with pricing, what she checked with Cheryl Chevrolet and of course Wright Chevrolet, and then also went online to get some pricing. The motor fleet is getting, I think there's about 104,000 miles on the Equinox now, and everything's getting to the point where things need to be done. You know, just kind of what level it's at.
So we have Alan Webb Chevrolet also?
That was, I guess that was probably pulled off
Kelly, yeah.
online, going to Kelly Blue Book. To make sure that I guess we got the three. So there was probably online, you could go Allen Webb, McLaughlin Chevrolet, Wentworth Chevrolet, Harvest Dealerships, got this particular vehicle, the white 2018 Impala LT. You probably could pick that up at any one of those dealers for this price.
Well, these aren't really quotes on these other ones, or not? It's a little confusing to know what we're looking at here.
Well, yeah, the quotes is from Cheryl Chevrolet and Wright Chevrolet. She went on to Kelly Blue Book and got, put in the same vehicles, and this is, the price on it was, what was it? Out the door price is $31,147. And you could have picked it up at any one of those four dealers for that price. That's on the LT. And then on the LS, the out-the-door price on any one of those four dealers, you would get it for $27,696. This is on the Chevy Impala. Whereas Wright Chevrolet's quote, well, let's go, because I'm going backwards. It was $29,096 from Cheryl Chevrolet. Wright Chevrolet's price was $26,116.76 on the LT and $24,446 on the LS model. Or then there was the Malibus. I'm not seeing. What's the out-the-door price? $23,489. That was online. $25,850 from Cheryl and $23,835 from Wright's.
The one Malibu we have now, what is it? LT, LF?
That's LT.
You've driven it
Once.
once.
I think less,
I've
yes.
driven it a
Yeah.
few times. It's nice.
Yeah.
I drove it once.
I think the users of the motor pool like it. I've heard.
Like the Malibu?
Everybody seems to like it, the users that they're using.
I like it has a backup camera.
What's that?
It has a backup camera.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Like that.
Does this one?
Yes, federally mandated 2018.
Most all of them.
I think, with the radio package, both of them have the same radio package.
And what's it, 16?
It's a 2016, 15. I think it's a 2015.
What, the current Malibu?
Yeah. What's that, the current Malibu?
16 or 17. Bought it last August, right? July?
No, it's.
Whatever,
It
yeah.
might be a 17.
I think it's 17 probably.
Okay, okay. I think the preference of the people, staff-wise, and conversations that went on were for the, to get an Impala LT. For what that's worth, I guess. I felt that maybe the Malibu LT was
Yeah.
quite better. With a budget resolution, we could get both.
With a budget resolution? Yeah,
Might make it easier.
Yeah.
but we don't probably,
I'm sorry, yeah.
no.
Do you want to come back to this? Where I've got just about 10 after.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a few more minutes. But. The fleet is getting old, though. We're going to have to
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I
real
think-
quickly here, end up with a couple of vehicles.
I think any of them would be good, fine.
So the LS must be a little lower.
Yeah, it's a lower, few less bells and whistles.
Yeah.
What do you think, Leslie?
Well, I like the Malibu, I like the price. But if the staff likes the Impala, do we have to take the lowest one?
No.
No.
No. I think that, again, always kind of like being able to set in the vehicle, and that option hasn't been there, but Micah, you drive an Impala, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
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 I
I've
think
driven
it's-
in Malibu too.
Yeah,
Quite a bit.
I think you're just talking a little bit larger vehicle.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that'd be the thing with some of the people like Dewey might drive, they probably prefer the Malibu with a little more leg room.
All they ever give me is the old Impala,
Yeah,
and it's nice, it's nice.
yeah,
It fits good.
yeah.
I don't know, there was 4 of us in the Malibu last year, Chet and I and Jamie. That wasn't any problem either, so
Yeah.
Until you try to start taking your luggage in the trunks, it's
Yeah,
an issue.
Yeah.
Well, you should be taking 16.
See, that's
Well, it's really that small.
Cut back on what you're gonna wear there.
That's right.
You say that was the Malibu?
Yeah, that's the Malibu, the new one.
I move we approve purchase of the 2018 Chevrolet Malibu, $23,717.
It's actually, Mike, it's 23,830.
Well, that's the Oregon tax.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's,
Gosh, all right, all right.
we're
Yeah.
kind of stuck with that.
Yeah,
But this is the price.
Okay.
Yeah, but, yeah, if we want to, that's without tax,
yeah,
okay?
without tax. Okay.
I'll second.
All right.
So it's been moved and seconded to purchase the 2018 Chevy Malibu for the amount of $23,717 ex-tax from Bright Chevrolet. Anything further? Okay, there being none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, good.
You seconded that?
I did.
Leslie seconded. Okay, well, now we're going to open a couple of sealed bids for a grader the county owns. It's a 1992 Cat 140G motor grader. And we have one that's FedEx to us. Frisco, Texas. Strong import. This individual has submitted a bid for the above grader in the amount of $57,750. The next one is from, it appears to be DeGrange Construction in Wasco. DeGrange Construction has bid $58,100.
Two bids.
Two bids.
Great. You want to look at them?
Yeah, I've read them. So again, we received a bid from an Imran Equipment Export in Frisco, Texas, in the amount of $57,750. The other one is DeGrange Construction in the amount of $58,100. It appears as if DeGrange Construction has the higher bid by $450.
I move we,
$350.
I move we sell the motor grader to DeGrange Construction for $58,100.
A second. It's been moved and seconded to sell the 1992 Cat 140G motor grader to DeGrange Construction in the amount of $58,100. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
That was a lot simpler than buying a car.
Oh, God, yes. I didn't have to worry about the bells and whistles in the grader.
It has that.
Yeah. Okay, the next thing we want to move into, I have it in addition to the agenda, it's the ODOT IGA agreement with the state of Oregon. Dewey, you want to come up and we'll talk about the Road Creek project and this agreement that we have, and there's a time limit.
Yes.
Okay.
We did the project for, it was Wheeler County's Federal Lands Access Project. We completed it in September. The county court signed the agreement with Federal Lands at a court meeting down here in Arlington. We submitted to Federal Lands. They were given a directive October 1st to not pay any more agreements. So in my conversation with ODOT and Federal Lands, ODOT has agreed to, they're able to work money, the state and the feds are able to work money easier than the counties and the feds. So the Federal Lands is going to pay ODOT, and then ODOT will pay Gilliam County for our portion of the project. This has been an ongoing thing since October. I just got this yesterday at 4 o'clock. Got it to Leanne to get to you folks for a signature to get this intergovernmental agreement started and so we can get our payment.
How much is it?
$522,232. $552,232.47.
Okay.
So how's that match up with this original agreement?
It is the original agreement. It is what we sent to the federal lands. It's our cost accounting off our IRS system.
Okay.
That's the rock, the oil, our equipment, our labor. That's the costs that we incurred to do the project.
Reading it, so much of it is just old boilerplate.
It is.
Read over and
Yeah.
over again.
It's
These
the
IGAs.
same agreement that we've had on all of our
Yeah.
intergovernmental agreements. Same agreement that we give for our fund exchange.
Fund exchange?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Other than on this one, we get 100% of the project. We don't get 94%
Right.
of the project. So
Dollar for dollar.
that's dollar for dollar on this project.
Right.
yes.
And that's, the interesting thing I noticed, this email was from the active transportation section, which is the pedestrian bicycle part.
Yeah, there's a lot of heads have been turned over this project just because we kind of got pushed off to the side. And so I went to the top.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was us doing something for somebody else kind of thing. It's,
Yeah.
It's kind of a special
right, circumstances. on this.
circumstance and stuff, so.
Yeah. The project's all completed and who had, at the state, did somebody sign off on it? Or is it federal or?
Well, the feds signed off on it.
Okay.
The feds signed off on it and then was passed to ODOT. Macklin is who I've been working with.
Okay. Yeah. Well, the main thing is we get
Get
our
our
money.
funds.
Right.
And the sooner we can get them, the better by
Yeah,
moving forward on
Yeah,
this.
that's the issue I'm in, is right now my budget's backwards
Oh, yeah.
because of this expenditure, and I need to
Mhm.
get that money into this year's budget so it can carry it over into next year's.
Makes you kind of wary about working with the federal government.
It really does. And we do have our Lone Rock Bridge, which is a state and federal project, plus also our flat project for Lower Rock Creek
Mhm.
coming in.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Surely wait for money on it also.
Yes.
Well, I move we approve the miscellaneous contract number 32438 with Oregon Department of Transportation, State of Oregon, in the amount of $552,232.47.
Well, second?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the miscellaneous contracts and agreements number 32438, an intergovernmental agreement with ODOT and Gilliam County for the Roe Creek chip seal project in the amount of $552,232.47. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay.
Good thing we don't have big numbers.
Is it possible to get signatures on that?
Yeah, I was going to say, we'll get definitely right away here.
Okay. Also, if I can get my signature on the Lone Rock Bridge, I can get that sent in also.
Oh, yeah,
Got a couple other things we want to talk to you now.
yeah, before you
I got a
go.
question too.
And then there's that, the other we talked about yesterday.
Is this the one?
This is the Lone Rock Bridge. That is,
Yeah.
I don't think we're all on this one.
It just
No, that's-
requires 2 signatures.
Yeah. That'll be.
Oh, the road guy.
Yeah. I don't know why with these IGAs that we have with the state on that, it's like 2 signatures.
21st.
Oh.
Okay. Do you need this loan rock agreement? Do we-
The rest of that is right there too.
I have the loan rock agreement
Okay.
here.
Okay.
I'll send it in, if I can get that one for the Will Creek project.
Okay.
As soon as I get back to town, I'll have Terry ship them both off.
Okay. Okay, Dewey, while you're here, we have a couple of projects. The Soil and Water Conservation District is in need of fill rock for their project. We do have a letter here from them. We also have the Historical Society in need of some rock also. Just a little bit of background on the Soil and Water Conservation District. I received a call from Rich Harper stating that they had fill that was in the area of the building. They had hauled a lot of it away, and the contractor who was there was going to be using as much of that fill as they possibly could. They were going to run it through a screen, and then a geotech was going to determine whether it was good enough to be able to be used. Some of the rock that they have there apparently is not accepted to the engineer. So they were kind of, the contractor was already going to be buying 2,000 yards, and now with this shortage, they were going to be 500 yards, 480 yards short of product and being able to have the fill that was needed to put the building in.
It's actually not the building, it's the parking lot,
Yeah,
the
I'm
lower
sorry.
parking lot.
Right.
Because of the spring.
Parking lot or park?
Park.
It's the parking lot down below, the lower section.
Yeah. So, the contractor was in kind of a difficult position because he had bidded on the fact that that material would be there, and suddenly it was gone. So in communicating with Tim Bloom, who was the contractor at the time, was that, okay, you're short this product, you need, how much of it are you sure you need? And he really doesn't know.
Right.
He doesn't know whether it's gonna be 480 additional yards, or might be 220, might be 210.
They required them to dig down to solid bedrock down there, and they dug out a pretty good area, and then the bluff, the shelf kind of raised up, so they're not for sure what they exactly need for sure.
Yeah. So Soil and Water is looking for an in-kind contribution from us. I did, in conversing with them, I asked about the contingency of the project. They didn't, nobody seemed to have the exact number of the contingency. I did ask them that if there was not, the contingency was not used during the project, that perhaps that money could come back to the county for the purchase of the rock. But we're really not going to know, the problem, we don't really know exactly what that rock amount is going to be and where they're going to be with contingency until everything is done. And
The other question is, do we have the rock nearby?
Yes, we do.
yeah.
Plenty of it that's,
Yes, yes, there's material at the Yeager quarry.
that we could give
Yeah,
to.
yes.
480 cubic yards, what does that come out to in, say, truckload? Just so I can get the
It's
grasp of the
100
amount.
truckloads.
Okay.
100?
Well, it's 48 truckloads, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 48 truckloads, yeah, at 10 yards a load, I'm sorry.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah, at 10 yards load,
Okay.
48 truckloads.
Roughly a value of $10
At $4,800.
right,
Oh, okay.
total on.
Well, that would be a small contribution.
Well, yeah, but the
In the
issue is we really
big
don't
picture.
know. Yeah, I don't know what that contribution, that, you know,
Right.
final portion of it is going to be, but the project really can't move forward until the
They're
agreement
saying-
for them to get the additional rock.
That's up to, they're figuring up to that, or did they figure it could go over that?
Up to that was, they didn't feel that it was going to go over, it was going to be something probably less than.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I would move the, donate up to 480 yards, inch and a half minus rock to the Soil and Water Conservation District's project in downtown Condon.
I'll second.
What else do we need in the motion?
Are we done?
I think that's it. I don't know whether we need to do anything in addition to the, the contingency fund.
Okay.
Do you want me to, should we add something in that, or? I could go either way and not, it seemed to be as if they were, more than happy to do that, but they just didn't, anytime, as you well know, there's always these change orders that hit regularly.
Oh, I know. Well, okay,
So-
so with any remainder contingency funds to cover that rock
Okay,
at the end of the project, if there is
Okay.
contingency,
okay,
cover that rock, but to allow it to move forward now.
sure. Are you okay with that addition to the?
I'll second that.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded to go ahead and give 480 cubic yards of 1.5 minus gravel to the Soil and Water Conservation's Condon build, with the caveat that we, at the end of the project, if there's any contingency funds left over, that those funds are used to pay for the gravel. Is that all right, Chet? That would,
I think that's
okay.
what the discussion was.
Yeah. Okay. Any further discussion? No. There being none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. So, was that, are you pretty good with that?
I think I
Okay.
got
All right. Okay, then we also have the Gilliam County Historical Society doing, it appears as if they've had a conversation with you. They're in need of 300 yards of gravel. Is that cubic yards, I assume? Okay. Inch and a half minus?
Daryl Potter's going to come in at 2 o'clock today on that.
Okay. So just a little bit of info, you have had the conversation, inch and a half?
Yes, they're just trying to clean up the remainder of the, I guess it's the outside storage area
Okay.
of their displays.
Okay, we do have a presentation again at 2 o'clock on this.
Oh, yeah.
We have I guess we have the rock that could
Yes, we do.
do this also, the Jaeger pit.
And that's 300 yards at what price?
It's 3/4 minus. It's the rock that they will use on that project.
Right.
And it's $10 a yard.
Okay.
Is there anything else on this deal that you know of?
You know, there's a little bit of grading, there's some sterile work, and then the freight,
Yeah.
the placement of the material is what they'll be looking for.
And
So-
Don had something.
They've also talked to me about doing fairground treatment.
Yeah.
So do we, you know, at $10 a yard, what, that's $3,000? And the other portion of this, what do you think
It's
that
probably
might
gonna
cost?
be, you know, right around another 3,000 for the freight
Okay.
and the grading, the
Okay.
placement of the material, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just so we,
And what about the background treatment? Is that,
It'll be $100 probably. It's not an acre.
so really, we're looking at roughly $6,100 worth of in-kind contribution to the Historical Society for this project. Okay. Okay, so we'll pick that, unless you guys have more questions for Dewey, we can,
I had,
yeah.
I had one. What happened with the new grader? What happened with the loan on,
Oh, the loan.
the loan? I mean, I've heard a couple things, but I was
think
just
it's
curious.
through the county now, I believe.
We're gonna put that on the schedule for the next court meeting. The loan's sitting on my desk. So, I did not.
what's on the schedule for next quarter?
I don't approve.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay,
Give me time.
yeah.
Good. Sounds like you're right in the middle of everything, Dewey.
It's a busy spring right now.
Okay.
Okay.
I think we're good. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
See you later. Okay, the next thing we've got, we're right there. I think we'll go ahead and start with Chet. The CAFFA grant.
Do we gotta have a hearing?
Oh,
No.
yes, public hearing at
Public hearing
10:30,
is
yes.
at
Yeah, I apologize. I checked.
We go last one.
Yeah. Don, we're going to go with the public hearing to receive public comment on the Gilliam County Weed Control Special Assessment. I was just looking at time, so,
We didn't bring any jelly.
yeah.
That's why.
Oh, you didn't read the jelly bean.
Yeah.
Here we go.
This is the second public hearing, and here it says it's being held at the Arlington Gronquist building, but
We knew that.
we're at a different location. There is a sign up there. Do we have, do we have anybody who would like to give public comment in regards to the Gilliam County's weed control special assessment? Give it a couple minutes in case somebody shows up. We're already 5 minutes late, but yeah. Okay. We do have an ordinance with this, so it is attached.
And I know we took care of this a little bit more at the meeting we held, the hearing we held in Condon, but do we have to list out these items that will take place? Or what the purpose of the hearing is? Do you have it? You got the sheet?
Oh, yeah. In the first paragraph.
Yeah, right. I guess, you know, it might be helpful if we, yeah, Don, why don't we go ahead? We have receive evidence of need of the special assessment, identify who will benefit from this, receive input on special assessment rate, and to receive written and oral testimony. We probably should have you come forward, sort of talk about at least those first three items to kind of keep us in line with what we did in Condon. So first one is to, you know, receive evidence of the need of the special assessment, so.
That just gives people the opportunity to come in and they have the possibility of opting out if they
Mhm.
prefer to do that. If they can show that they're receiving a benefit. Trying to think if it's ever happened in the 28 years that they've been.
We've had some questions on it. You've had some people talk to you about opting out.
Yeah, but they never do.
Yeah.
Some of them don't know. I think a lot of it, there's a lot of things we do, they don't see us do them, so quite simply, if we find a regulatory weed, if we only find one, we take care of it, we don't. And that's partially how we use some of this money. It's just plain taking care of things that the first one gets here, if we can stay at that first point, then everybody gets benefit from that.
Okay. Who's going to benefit? It says identify who will benefit.
Everybody can. If we keep noxious weeds out of Gilliam County itself, the cities benefit as well as the county. Every landowner in the county hopefully can see a benefit from that, from us taking care of the need before it's a major issue. We're also out there looking for them before they get here, and that's cheaper to everybody. If we get the first one, we're good. A lot of times we don't get that opportunity. So everybody in the county could benefit from it.
But it's just, the assessment is on land outside the incorporated cities.
Correct.
It's important to remember too on this deal, so.
Yeah. The total amount of the assessment is $48,466.82. Don, what's the rate on this? That's the next question.
It's 7 cents
Yep.
an acre.
Making sure we got all the things in there. I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah.
Okay, I guess it's time to close this public hearing session of this. We've got the information. It doesn't appear as if we have anybody who's looking for public testimony. So with that being said, we close the public hearing portion and move into discussion in regards to approving this.
Well, I haven't been involved with this assessment for quite a few years and seen the benefits of it. It's pretty simple for me to be in favor of it.
Mm-hmm.
And, so let's see what I do with that. So I would move that we approve ordinance 2018-01 in the matter of special weed assessment within Gilliam County and the rate of 7 cents an acre to create a total assessment of $48,466.82.
I'll second.
Okay. Been moved and seconded. This technically is really the first, it's an ordinance and it requires a first and second reading that we go
Okay.
through on
Oh.
these kind of things. So.
We should have read it at the last one.
Yeah,
Well, you have to wait till the second
Yeah, the
hearing.
second public
Oh,
hearing,
okay,
so.
all right, well, I'll hold my motion till our second reading then.
I don't have my sheet of paper.
Yeah, the
I know
little
it.
Yeah.
cheat sheet, so
You
really.
guys didn't warn me on that, I was,
Well,
hurry.
you were going through it pretty quickly. And I
maybe we
was
should
kinda-
have just put,
Yeah,
I put it on the agenda.
So- yeah.
So are we going to, I can't remember how it goes. Do we do the first reading? Or are we going to take the break in between the first and second reading, or are we going to declare an emergency?
I just
or-
put first reading on this agenda, and I was going to put second reading and adoption of ordinance on
The next meeting.
Okay. So do we have to move to have the
It's not
first
emergency.
reading of ordinance number?
Here's the,
do that.
Okay, I move that we have the first reading of ordinance number 2018-01, thank you, by title only.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the first reading of ordinance number 2018-01 by title only. And that portion is this right here, right? Okay.
We have to vote on that.
Oh, okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, by title only. Thank you for that. Okay. This is in the Gilliam County Court of the State of Oregon for Gilliam County in the matter of an ordinance for special weed assessment within Gilliam County, ordinance number 2018-01. Do I need to go any farther than that? I don't think, I think that's it.
That's it.
Okay.
I move that we accept the first reading by title only.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to accept the first reading by title only. Do I do it again? No, okay.
We just-
All those again? This is really confusing.
Next
so-
meeting.
Yeah, next meeting, thank you. They'll ask me to read the whole thing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Good.
No, yeah.
I don't know why I don't remember doing this before.
I know, yeah, well,
Here.
we had a couple of problems, and so we kind of ended up having to change.
Oh.
Yeah, okay. So I'm gonna leave this with, well, set it there. Okay. Now, Chet, We're ready to go. Thank you. Thanks, Don.
Yeah, no problem.
Just hi to John, Jeremy. Good to see you two here.
Yeah.
Okay. We're ahead. CAFFA grant. Shall we start with that, I guess?
Sure.
Okay.
So really what we need to do today is just sign the resolution for our CAFFA grant. You guys have had the application. There's really not any changes from last year, except for the fact that we are asking for funding for a desktop printer to replace the one that we used to print all of our appraisal prints and everything, where last year we asked for funding for a new scanner and a plotter. So last year we asked for $8,000, this year we're asking for $4,000.
Okay. Okay.
You guys have any questions?
Yeah, that's okay. That's fine.
Total amount is it 495,000?
Yes.
Yeah, it was 495. There it is, okay. 495, 621.
Right, which is pretty close to what it was
Was
last
last
year. We had a little bit of increase due to the salary increases, but then we asked for $4,000 less in the grant
Right.
portion.
This thing is always so, kind of comical, all this stuff that.
Yeah, and you're just trying to make educated guesses.
Yeah, all of it.
What the activity's gonna be in the county for this year, next year.
Right, right.
It has to be submitted by the 1st of May, so the sooner we can get it submitted, in case there's an issue.
It needs to be approved in the form of a resolution.
Yes.
It's within that in your packet. The resolution is several pages in your packet.
Into it.
Well, I move we approve the grant application to the Oregon Department of Revenue in the amount of $495,621 for the CAFFA, County Assessment Funding Assistance.
I'll second.
Okay. Okay, so it's been moved and seconded to approve the grant application resolution with the Department of Revenue to participate in the county assessment funding assessment program for resolution number 2018-05 in the amount of $495,621. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Good, all right,
Thank you.
good. So we also have some software discussion.
While we were here, we thought maybe we would discuss the issues we've been having with our appraisal and tax software. The system was purchased in 2006, and when they signed the agreement, they had to have IT support. So at that time, we signed an IPA with Lane County, and there was 5 counties that did that to split the cost of one employee in Lane County. Well, since then, Thomson Reuters bought out the original company, which was Manatron, and they've gone to a new program, which is called Arlington, which is a one single program. It's the assessment and the taxation combined. The issue with that program is they can't make it work in Oregon due to our complex tax laws. So they've kind of left behind their current software, the ProVal and the Ascend, and there was no succession planning with their IT people. So support is almost non-existent. And we've been having a lot of issues with the software and not able to do any support. But we've been able to lean on Lane County, John Logan, who's been there since the beginning when everybody transitioned, has had a pretty good hold on the software. The only issue is John is retiring in December, and they are in the same position. The 2 people that they've hired to replace them have been there for less than 2 years, and I think we're going to end up, well, I know we're going to end up in a situation where we're not going to be able to get answers to fix our system. We had an issue this year, just before tax season, where some of our special assessed values weren't coming across correctly because you have to roll them from low-val program to the Ascend system, which is where the taxes are calculated. They didn't come across correctly, and we could never get an answer. We ended up doing those, searching through all those accounts, using queries and hand valuing them, basically. And that would have been for all of the accounts in the county, not just some of the specific specially assessed accounts. We would have had a serious issue, and we weren't seeming to get any support. So Lane County knows that this is an issue. Out of the 5 counties that they support now, the rural counties, Lake County has already gone to a new program. They are currently in the conversion process now. It's called Helion, and it's called Orcas. It's through Helion, which you received an email or a letter from Ellen saying that, you know, how good the support is from Helion through the deed side of the recordings. And so this would, if we decided to go with Helion, if we talked to them, they seem to be the best option. They're a local Oregon company, so they understand Measure 50 and Measure 5 and all of our issues. And then there's 2 counties in our group that are on that system now in the district, Morrow and Hood River. So we went over to Hood River, or to Morrow County, and kind of went through the process and looked at the system. And we seem to think that it was very user-friendly.
I mean, we even kind of pulled the, you know, one of our biggest issues is support, so we were talking taxation. What's the support like? And they had absolutely nothing bad to say, which I don't know if they got.
That's always good when you hear about the software company, so, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the worst thing is, well, sometimes they won't get back to us for 3 or 4 hours. Well, currently they don't get back to us at all, so, I mean, 3 or 4 hours is exceptional. And it's the same with Ellen's letter. She just almost gushes, and it's how good their support is. So, and we talked to one of their salesmen, of course, but you know, one of their goals is to get back to you within a day. So, I mean, it's actually in the contract. They'll get back to you within a day, so a day and a half, I think it was. But
right. And then this would eliminate having 2 programs where we have to do our appraisal in this program, and we roll it to Ascend, so we can't calculate or estimate really any taxes until September when we've rolled everything over. We have issues with Ascend on the taxation side.
I have issues with the turnover out of Ascend into CHAFS or accounting system. It's difficult to balance at best. So hopefully we could address that, but if nothing else, it harmonizes a system we already have with 2 other systems that we already have. They'd all be under one umbrella. So you're just dealing with one group. And then we still have CHAFS because they don't have an accounting component. We did ask about that because it'd be great to be all working together, but that's asking too much evidently.
So then as deeds are recorded in the clerk's office, they're put in the queue that will come to our office for Jamie to go and work them. And then as the taxes are paid and calculated, then they go to the treasurer's office. And it's all one streamlined program instead of being pieced together with these obsolete programs.
Right.
So really what we're just asking is if we can go out and see if we can get some bids for cost. I think the sooner that we do this, the better, because in our conversation with the other counties, everybody is leaning towards the ORCAT system, and it takes a while to do the conversion. So the sooner that we can get an agreement signed with them and get in line, the better. Because as those counties, like with Lake County leaving our group, then that puts us down to 4 counties paying for this person at Lane County. So our costs are going to go up for support. And the other good thing about ORCATs would be that their support is $41,000 a year, and currently between paying Thompson Reuters and Lane County, we're paying $56,000. And we know that's going to continue to rise. So there's a saving of $16,000 a year right there, and you have a supportable system that
Is streamlined with the entire, with three offices.
We talked during the budget, I mean, Steve said his budget, we talked during the budget last year about potentially replacing the accounting system. And it's interesting, but other counties have actually switched to CHAFS.
Yeah.
you know, despite its age, it still seems to work real well. Customer support's been real good. I mean, our main contact person retired, Peggy, but they got a new guy in there, and they've actually been reprogramming part of it recently. So, updating some of it. So I don't have any problems. I mean, as far as my office is concerned, it works great. And Ellen's office, you know, we're the two main users, and Ellen and Dawn are both happy with it. So I don't think putting it off another year or
Whatever
just to see
it's
what
gonna be.
happens is
Right.
necessarily an issue.
As you and I talked yesterday with Shabs making, possibly updating and doing some of the
Yeah.
things. The issue that we had, it's an old MS-DOS system, but it works great.
Yeah, it's a little cumbersome to learn is all. It's, it's not, click on a menu somewhere, it's all keys, but,
Yeah.
with a little bit of experience, I think anybody in here could probably use it, so. It's just like going back in time.
Newer is always better.
But
So
yeah,
what do you guys,
this case-
any idea what you think this might, the ballpark, Chet?
Well,
I mean, we've got $125,000 that we had budgeted for the accounting software, which,
Right.
there's still roughly 120 in there, so.
so conversion's somewhat expensive.
Right.
I mean, that's actually an expensive portion. I think their blanket, what at a conference, they said their blanket price is something like $250,000.
Right, but I think we can negotiate that down. We wanted to come to you guys and make sure that
Mhm.
you were even interested in updating the programs before we started really talking seriously with them about it.
Mhm.
So that's the other thing, if you guys are open to this idea, maybe next meeting, we could have some costs in your packets that you could look at, the timeline.
Are
Sounds
you
like
going
we
to
need
establish
to.
sole source, or are you going to get competitive proposals?
Or-
Sole source?
That'd be sole
So then you'll
source,
need to-
not
Yeah,
any-
we're just giving
not
them
any
a process with
competition.
that.
And yeah, that's the issue too. So there's only a few companies that actually provide these services, and most of them are geared towards the larger counties. And that's another issue with our current system, is they're used to working with those big counties instead of us little counties, and so we just kind of get lost in the shuffle because we don't have the IT personnel on our staff to actually handle the issues that other counties do. And where ORCATS is based in Oregon, owned partially by some of the counties that originally were signed up. It's really the best fit. If we go with a different big vendor, I think we end up in the same situation we are now. And they're really not even interested in talking to us.
Yeah. Well, I think we should have you guys go ahead and pursue what that should be. I think it's, the world we live in, and really trying to get something that coordinates between all three offices, I think is really important. I know what you guys kind of go through and having to change things from, to Ascend, and so it's, a lot of work that gets involved there that I think will be streamlined much better. Well worth the money spent. So, let's see what we can get, Chet, and we'll meet at the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Couple
Thank you.
letters from these big vendors that say, we don't want to mess with you.
I don't know if we can even get them.
Yeah.
Probably can't even get the letter
Yeah,
back.
probably not. Yeah, that'd be my guess. That would be my guess.
All right.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. Okay, we have just a few minutes here before we have John and Jeremy coming up. There's one thing, discussion item 3.1 in regards to legal counsel. I think, at the last time that we had talked, I had mentioned the fact that I had conversations with Nellie Mary and Ruby Cleveland specifically. And of course, the contract that we have is actually with them. It wasn't necessarily with Will. Will was the person assigned to us. I guess I wanted to really put this on because as this transition has really happened, I've been really comfortable with the work that Ruben Cleveland has done for us. I think, I guess what I'm suggesting is maybe we give this a lot more time than what we had really initially thought, and maybe sometime next winter that we would begin pursuing maybe a legal counsel, you know, or whether we just go ahead and stay with them. But
I don't know if I've ever seen the contract with us.
yeah, you know, I'm still looking for that, to be honest, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, still looking for that.
They should have a copy, shouldn't
They should have a copy, but they haven't been able to get it, they haven't come up with it yet. And that was as of last Wednesday. I really haven't had time. I did have a conversation with Ruben on Friday, you know, and he had been gone on vacation and had just gotten back Thursday evening, and so.
And when did we start with them?
Oh, boy, Leanne.
I think it was 2003,
You're gonna have to.
3 or 4.
Did you know Mike Thompson is no longer practicing with the firm?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I just found that out this morning.
I did not know that. Really, somebody I'd never talked to there.
I've had some dealings with him, and he's pretty good, but
Yeah.
anyway, I called him, he's no longer.
Okay. Vic Van Houten, Diane McDonald, Dougal, I think, and Ruben are the 3 individuals that I have the most contact with. Ruben, I'm not sure of his, Will seem to have an awful lot of expertise in the land use into things. I'm a little unsure of Ruben's experience in the land use. But I can say this, is that Hood River's planner works with Ruben consistently, so still don't know. So I guess what I'm looking for is maybe that, you know, from some, can we wait until maybe this winter before we,
That'd be a good idea,
yeah,
after January 1st.
yeah. Okay, good.
But I guess the thing I would say is that the problem I see with what we've had in the past, I mean, it's got problems and benefits, that having this firm represent us as they also represent a number of the other agencies that we deal with. And so really there's a basic conflict of interest
Yeah.
that I don't think should continue.
And I believe they've really tried to make efforts to separate a lot of the work that he has done between Victor, Diana, and Ruben, in separating a lot of the things that Will was in.
Yeah.
And so.
But if we want to, I mean, look at it right now, what agencies is Ruben covering right now?
Right now, let's see, I think the port and.
Port Arlington, City Arlington.
City Arlington and Gilliam County. And they're not really sure who's going to cover Frontier Telnet, whether it's going to be Diana or Ruben. Yeah. And right now, just Ruben happened to be at the last meeting on Friday. The one before that was Diana. I believe that Mike Smith has had most of his conversations with Diana, but I don't know what.
They're all in the same firm though, so
Yeah.
our contract is still with them.
The contract's
And
with
so
the firm.
that still makes it a little too close.
Okay. Well, yeah. I think something to consider,
Yeah.
definitely, in each one of the organizations that are there. So, at least Gilliam County for sure. Okay, so getting through that, it's just something that I wanted to make sure that we had some sort of discussion on it. You know, we're fairly close. Some of the other things that I have here, I can kind of touch base with a couple of letters of interest in serving serving on the library board. We did receive a letter from Leslie Jameson expressing interest to serve on the library board. At this time, I don't believe we have an opening on it. Yeah, we do have an opening on the library board. Scott Maley's position is open. We really haven't had conversation with the board in regards to this. This was not a solicited letter. This is not a solicited position that we've solicited for. I
She
don't,
does mention in there that 2 board members brought it to our attention that there was a vacancy.
Right.
When do they meet next?
They just met last Wednesday, last week. I think it was Wednesday. So it'll be 3 weeks away. I didn't know if the court wanted me to advertise the position or not, so I put it on the agenda, the letter of interest.
With the library board, what have we done, what's been done in the past?
Well, we've been kind of all over the board with it, yes, we've been trying to streamline or trying to figure out a way to make sure that we did them all the same, and the most recent one that we had was with the fair board, and we decided to go ahead and advertise for that position, and then take it with those that were interested in serving. Whether, these, again, I think it's best that we do advertise, open it up, let anybody who's interested express their interest, letter to us.
I think that's good. And I would like to hear what the, what the recommendation would be from the library board after
Right.
that happens.
Right.
Yep.
So it's just that we received this, and it was, wanted to make sure that we, so what we'll do with this is get an advertisement out for the position, the vacancy, and then we will put this in the file as a person who's interested to deal with it at that time. Okay, we also have a letter of interest on some foreclosed property. At this time, we haven't put this up for a sheriff's sale yet. It's always hard. It's the old Rockwell house in Condon. May not mean anything to you, but this person has expressed interest in purchasing that property. We have not gone through this, we went through the sheriff's, no, we haven't. So, again.
What now?
We haven't gone through the sheriff's sale on it, so that has not been done. So,
Yeah, you think you tabled it to wait, I know you tabled it to wait just till this attainable housing program was in place, and, because there was some interest in that location possibly from the committee, I think.
Yeah.
Well, it wouldn't hurt to send them back a little, reply and explain a little bit.
Okay. Well, I think, the reply that had gone through my mind, my head, was that, we would go ahead and go through a sheriff's sale procedure. At this, again, we were not sure whether it would be something that PCDC and that group would be interested in bringing on board and doing the, and it could be, I haven't had the conversation with anybody at PCDC about the property and them wanting to do something like that, but I think the best thing for us to do would be to go ahead and do a sheriff's sale and see what happens after that. Right.
So there'll need to be a court order for that, and then part of that will be, you want to set a minimum bid.
Yeah, Chet, do you
I just have no value right here.
okay. The value on it.
So it's the Ashley property.
Right.
If you want to look at this. This is the value we have on it. This last year, you guys asked us to go out and appraise it.
Right.
So we haven't been there since then. There may be more water damage because the roof was leaking at that time.
So discussion on maybe minimum bid on this to instruct or give information to the sheriff.
Yeah.
It appears in 2017 it was, it has a market value of $27,560. Minimum bid set at this or. Okay, so we will set the minimum bid at $27,600. What do you think, Chet? I see, what do you think we should do?
I would hazard to guess that there's a lot more
Okay.
water damage since we were there. maybe closer to 20,000, 15 or 20,000 is the minimum bid.
How about if we go?
I couldn't hear.
What he said is he felt that there would be a lot more damage there than what was it because of the leaking in the roof and water damage that had gone on. He recommended something between $15,000 and $20,000. I guess I think a fair value would be something in the, let's say $20,000 and see what happens. Okay. So we'll set a minimum bid of $20,000 for the sheriff to have a.
And then I'll prepare a quarter, and it'll be on next meeting agenda.
Right, for us to be able to do that. Yeah. Instructing the sheriff to go do that. Okay. You don't need this back, do you?
No.
Okay. Thank you for getting that. All right, next order of business, we've got North Central Public Health Communicable Disease Investigator and Environmental Health Specialist. And we were here, come on up, Jeremy, John. I'll let you guys introduce yourselves. It's usually best to do that. So.
Yeah, thanks, Judge Schaefer. I have a couple of handouts I'm going to pass out to you all here really quickly, and I'll explain what they are as we go through the presentation here. One's just kind of a fact sheet, and the other one is kind of a visual representation of our results from what I'm going to be talking to you about. And as you already mentioned, my name is Jeremy Hawkins. I run the Communicable Disease Program at the Health Department. I brought John Zalosnik with Environmental Health Specialist. So I'm going to be talking about a grant project that I undertook last year around well water quality in our 3 counties. And I dragged John along with me because even though I was the one who did the project, John's really the subject matter expert here. So in case you have any technical questions or anything, he's your guy. Expert, right?
Yeah.
And so basically what I'm going to give you is just a little bit of background on the project. And Judge Schaefer, you've already heard some of this, but for the rest of you all here, about what the project was and where it came from, and kind of what the results of it were and what the implications of that are. And so last year we did this project from, I think the funding period was from January of 2017, and the funding period ended August 31st of 2017. And we got $7,500 from the Oregon Health Authority's Domestic Well Safety Program to basically improve domestic well stewardship in our jurisdiction, which in addition to Gilliam County is also Wasco and Sherman County. And we chose to use that money to pay for folks who get their drinking water from a private well to get their water tested for contaminants, including coliform bacteria, including specifically E. coli, and also for nitrates as well. And one of the handouts I gave you there is kind of a fact sheet about nitrates. And the reason I applied for this grant is because I was already doing some other work from a larger grant, kind of that was more broad around climate and health, and this project kind of dovetailed nicely with that. It seemed like a good opportunity because currently private well owners are not required to ever get their water tested for any of these contaminants unless they're selling the property. And we had a lot of data from around the Dalles, obviously, but in the map that I have there for you guys also includes, we ended up testing about 50 wells altogether, but there's more than 50 dots on there, and a lot of the ones around the Dalles there are real estate transaction data that the Oregon Health Authority already had, going back, I think, 20 to 30 years, actually. Most of the results in Sherman and Gilliam County were from our project that we did. And so I'm not going to spend too much time on the bacteria and E. coli because we didn't find too many wells that were contaminated with any harmful bacteria, and I think most of the ones that we did were in Wasco County, actually. And so mostly and what that map is for is around the nitrates. And so just really quickly, I can kind of describe nitrates, which are, a chemical compound formed of nitrogen and oxygen, and which can be harmful to human health. And nitrates are something, of course, nitrogen is something we use in fertilizer, for crops, and human and animal waste also contains levels of nitrogen, and those are kind of common ways for groundwater to become contaminated with nitrates, as through those kind of avenues. And then there's a certain level of just kind of natural nitrates in soil, and there's, as you'll see on the map there's kind of 3 different colors, and so the EPA kind of sets their maximum contaminant level for nitrates in water to 10 parts per million, and so I believe the red color is anything above the maximum contaminant level, and then the yellowish kind of color is between, I think, 3 and 10 parts per million, which is kind of in that elevated range, and then anything 3 or below is kind of considered like background levels of nitrates that you might expect to see in
Parts per million or parts per million?
million. Is there a typo on there?
Yeah, there's a.
Okay, my apologies.
Check.
Yeah, so it's 10 parts per million. I did, one thing that we didn't test for is arsenic, and I believe for arsenic, it's 10 parts per billion is the maximum contaminant level. And so in order to do this project, I partnered with OSU, the Extension Services Office. And one reason we did this is because there's some barriers to people getting their water tested who might want to. It's fairly expensive. In order to get the bacterial and the nitrate tests done, it's $60. And people have to be able to get the sample to the lab, and the lab that we partnered with was the City of the Dalles Water Quality Lab at the Wicks Water Treatment Facility. And so getting it there could be a barrier for people, and then also paying for it as well. And so what OSU did for us is they did a lot of advertising for us, which was great, at the Sherman, the Condon office, and then at the office in Sherman County as well. They helped us find folks who wanted to participate. And they also kind of served as, in order to do the test, you have to usually come to the health department or go to the lab itself to pick up a couple of these little bottles to collect water samples in and then transport them to the lab. And obviously that's a long way to drive out from here to go all the way over there just to pick it back up and then come to your house, get your sample, and then drive it all the way back over to the lab. So OSU kind of served as kind of way stations for us for people to come pick up those bottles from. And I also did a couple of visits where I went out to people's homes myself because they had issues even getting the sample out to the Dalles, once they had taken it. That was from Gilliam County specifically. We only had about, I think it's about 6 participants or so out of the 50. And a lot of that probably had to do with just the distance, because people were still responsible for getting their sample to the lab in most cases, unless I actually went out there and did it myself. From what I heard though from Jordan at the Condon office for OSU was that he was getting a lot of interest from people about it, and it sounded like something that people hadn't really thought about. They said, oh well, I've been living here for 30 years and I've never had the water tested. I've never really thought about it. I've never gotten sick as far as I know from it. And so, people really, I think, started thinking about, well, what is the quality of my water, And just to kind of backtrack a little bit, the kind of health effects of nitrates, which is what we're really focused on here, is for infants and pregnant women, it's fairly well defined, and especially for infants, they can get what's called blue baby syndrome, which is where they get nitrate in their bloodstream, and then it kind of inhibits their hemoglobin's ability to transport oxygen to their tissues, and so they get fingers or toes or other parts of their body. They kind of get like a bluish hue to them because they're lacking in oxygen, and that's really the most well-defined and most well-known effect of nitrate exposure. There's not really a lot of information out there about the long-term effects of nitrate exposure to adults or otherwise healthy people. There's some limited evidence that there could be some links to certain types of cancer of the like gastrointestinal system, like stomach or bladder kind of related cancers, but that's very limited. Just a few studies on that kind of thing, as far as I know. So what we found, and I think I have the results here in my notes as well, but on the map there, as you can see, we tested 6 wells in Gilliam County, and 5 of them had at least elevated levels of nitrates. And then if you look in Sherman County, where we had kind of a larger number of wells that we tested 21 wells in Sherman County, and actually 15 of the wells we tested in Sherman County had at least an elevated level of nitrates in them. So, I know it's a small sample size, but that's pretty strong results there of the wells that we did test. And we did have 7 wells that were contaminated with E. coli, but like I said, I don't think there was any in Gilliam County that had E. coli. The kind of, I guess I can just touch really briefly on what, like, if your well is contaminated with nitrates, what you do about it. And there's not really, if your well's contaminated with E. coli, you shock chlorinate it, and kill all the bacteria, and then you're usually good to go as long as you do the right amount of chlorine, and there's a whole calculation that goes along with that based on what your well's like. But with nitrates, it's not so easy. It's not something you can boil out of the water or anything like that. You have to actually get like a filter that you attach at the point of distribution at your home, like at your faucet where you get your drinking water from. And those can be fairly expensive. I think there's several different types between, there's reverse osmosis filters, and there's at least 2 other kinds. Distillation, is another option. But those filters are pretty expensive. I think the cheapest ones that I could find just looking around at Home Depot and stuff were around $200 for the cheapest ones, and then you have to replace the filters on a regular basis, every year or so, and those are not cheap either. I think the filters themselves were around $75 a piece or something like that, and so it's not really an easy problem to fix. There is some, if you can find out how your well got contaminated with nitrates, say if it was from a leaking septic tank or something like that, obviously then you could fix the source of the contamination, and hopefully remedy it there. But if you're just treating the water, it's effective but expensive.
So one question, Jeremy.
Yeah.
John, once it's there, if you were to take care of whatever it might be, does it eventually clear up, or what?
To get that much volume in the water, it depends on what we're trying to sort of see is if that whole aquifer has been contaminated or have elevated levels. And I think in Sherman County, we can say that that there's some levels that are pretty high.
Yeah.
And some of the wells are pretty deep. Mm-hmm. So you could look at maybe what you might say is, okay, what's the well construction of that well? Mm-hmm. And if those wells are fairly old, that can lead to a contamination of the aquifer. So you get surface water basically infiltrating the deeper water-bearing zones, and you can contaminate that water.
Yes.
And so if you could stop all those avenues of transport, maybe you could clean that up over a period of time. But it seemed like years ago after the 1996 flood, some of the nitrate levels along the Columbia River, especially the parks and stuff like that, they went up. And since that time, they have actually gone back down. So there is some indication that, that maybe that can change over a period of time.
Okay. So what do you, I think what we're sort of looking at here, again, we had 6 individuals, 6 tests here. I think there's a lot more out in Gilliam County than just 6.
Yeah, absolutely.
I guess when I first heard about this, I wasn't sure whether, this is something we should expand in a way. I did have a conversation with Jordan, who felt that if there was a possible way of expanding more testing, that there might be some interest in getting that accomplished.
I wonder if there's a way with the SWCD type grant monies, or just, because they have that focus on both crop production and conservation, is maybe that we can partner with them to.
So that, was the next thing that Christina Kerwin with the SWCD was extremely interested in that opportunity, and I think she was going to begin working with Jordan and these possibilities. I think what you had done, Jeremy, was really kind of come up with the testing kits that were available for us, and then making sure that these got picked up and hauled back in. And I think with this here, what's that going to cost Gilliam County, and what's our role going to be in this?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I wasn't coming here with any kind of specific prescriptions of, this is what I think we should do. It's kind of an open question. The health effects of this are in some ways poorly understood unless you have an infant in the household or pregnant. And so, it's kind of one of those things like, well, how big of a problem is this really, And again, if you do identify a problem, we kind of ran into this, and it being a limited funding project where even in Gilliam County here, some individuals whose water we tested that came back with high levels of nitrates who said, okay, well, your well is contaminated with nitrates, and they say, okay, well, I can't afford a filter, so I guess I'll just keep drinking the water, and unfortunately, we didn't have any funding to, help any further than helping identify the problem, right? And so I think that's another issue, is that once contaminated wells are identified, then what?
Yeah.
What good is that if people don't have the ability to remedy the problem? And I looked, and at the state level, it doesn't seem like there's any resources or programs available to help folks, pay for that kind of stuff, to like a no interest loan or something, But we did run into that with at least a couple of people who were on fixed incomes, and say, well, I can't afford this fancy filter, so, been drinking this water for however many years, I guess I'll just keep drinking it,
Yeah.
And so to answer your question, I don't have a specific what it would cost you, I would be happy, to link up with Jordan and Christina. To mainly that was what I was wanting to do with this, was to bring this to you all, because this was a limited period, limited funding and limited time period project for us, and we don't have additional funding to continue this work, but basically to ask you all, who can I get this in front of, who might be able to, take the baton and do some more with it. And of course, I'm happy to share this information with them and partner with them in any way that would be helpful.
So kind of what I saw, Commissioners, was, maybe this three-headed organization and really getting an idea of what kind of problem we might have. We might not have a problem at all, but the only way that we're going to find out is being able to get the testing accomplished. And then, if there were problems, the PCDC kind of has some programs that I think could create some, with the funding that they have. I'd like to be, if we have problems, see if maybe there's something that they can. Mac, you're on the you're on the board. Peter's on the board.
water programs, but.
Yeah, you know, I just think it might be something that they could look at, you know. Anyway, just sort of a thought.
The extension service really ought to, in terms of education and outreach, somewhere where you ought to, I mean, we do funding on their budget. I think it's a good place to start to work because they get outside of town too, you know, they can cover the rural and.
Yeah, and the one thing that Jeremy was talking about is transporting those samples. Not so big of a deal on the nitrate. There's some longevity of this from the time of sampling to the time you can report it to the lab. But the BAC-T samples have to be reported to the lab within 24 hours. So, you know, you get the sample and you take it, you got to keep it cold, and there's a lot of things that you should do right with that sample in order to get a good result. And, you know, like I said, when you get to these rural counties, you go, okay, I'm going to take it this at night. No, I'm going to wait till the morning to take it and get it into the lab.
Same day.
It's you know, and then the lab is only accepts samples until Thursday afternoon. So they Monday through Thursday afternoon because they have to plate the sample. They have to keep the sample for 24 hours, and so they don't want to come in on Saturday or Sunday to read samples. So they only accept them until Thursday. So it's just there's a little logistics issue there.
With regards to the lab, you know, if we were looking to test more wells for nitrates, you know, they will just, you don't have to do the bacterial sample. So just to do the nitrate sample is $30. And, you know, you guys might have better luck. I tried to negotiate some kind of deal with them for a discount, and they were not willing to do that at that point in time with us. But, you know, maybe you guys could have better luck and get a discount if you were going to bring in so many samples or something, but I don't know.
About as good luck as we did.
Yeah, I think so too. So. Okay, you guys, any further questions? Maybe Jeremy with Jordan and Christina,
Yeah.
and really see if maybe a plan can be developed. And
Yeah, I'd be happy to come out and meet with them sometime.
okay, all right. We'll have conversations with them and have them reach out to you.
Okay, great.
And then you know, Leslie's on the Board of Health, so she can always reach out.
Right.
Let us know what's going on.
Good.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you, guys. Okay, we're at 11:33. We have a Waste Management Quarterly Report. Alan, Kip, good morning.
Okay, yeah. I'll send it to you. Okay. Email?
I can scan, I can just scan on when you get back to the office. You want a copy of it?
Oh, yeah, whatever we gave you guys.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Just go ahead. Morning, guys.
Howdy.
Let's roll, rock and roll. It's all yours.
Canceled on me a couple of weeks ago, just got tied up. But this is actually it's going to be the quarterly plus end of the year last year, just to summarize everything for you. But Columbia Ridge, quarter to date, which is January and February so far, we're running at a 10% volume overage versus last year. Last year was a slow year, but I don't think this is. I think this is indicative of what we're going to see the rest of the year based on what we've seen over the last 3. 2017, we were up almost 7% year over year versus 16 and 2.7 million tons. And then quarter to date host fees and the annual host fee for 2017 was increased considerably over the prior year. You may remember, I believe it was March where the host fee increased, if I'm not mistaken. Was that meant in the year before?
What's your report?
Yeah. Sorry about that. 2018 volumes have been good at Chem Waste, and 2017 they were actually good, and this year they're starting off strong, so expecting a good year at Chem Waste. Site updates, safety, I think most of you are probably aware, we did have an ADT rollover out of Chem Waste. We think the fellow's gonna be okay. He was shaken up quite a bit. He is back to work. He's on light duty right now, waiting some medical clearance, but seemed to be in good shape. That was principally a weather issue. And then you've probably heard there was an exposure situation over at Chem Waste. That is actually still under investigation. I'm not at liberty to talk a lot about it, but it is under investigation.
So it was Kim Waste, not Columbia Ridge?
Correct. So the rollover was at Columbia Ridge. I'm sorry, maybe I'm not clear on that, but rollover.
It says CRL on the exposure.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
You are correct, and that would be a mistake.
All right.
That would be a CWM. That is a misprint on my part.
This report that came to us by email, it said no accidents.
Yeah.
That was one of my questions, but I can't find it right now. But who put together the report that came to us in the email we got for February? Man.
The monthly report that comes, you know, with the DEQ letters, and that's why I think well, I'll show you what she sent me.
I'm not aware of a monthly report that comes out, so this is new
It comes
information.
from,
It's got there's a name on there.
yeah, what's her name? Bobby Jovan?
Oh. I was not aware of this. I will have a conversation with her and make sure we get that cleared up. There are still things we're learning periodically, stuff that goes out that may not come through my office or Kip's office. And this appears to be one of them. Thank you.
Yeah. Leastways, you've got it right at the top of your list
Well,
on updates.
we're trying to be open and communicative.
that's-
I'm not sure.
That's what made it.
I'm not sure where that one came from.
Yeah.
But, we'll definitely look into it. So the next thing I wanted to say was thank you for all the letters, support, and attendance in the Portland Metro bid situation. We did submit in January. We do not have any information. We're expecting that information, the awards to be out, probably notified May, June timeframe. There's no, from what I understand, I know they've come back with some questions and we've responded to those questions for them, and that's kind of where we're sitting right now. I hear rumors every now and then that it's already decided and a done deal. I am not aware of that. No Waste Management is aware of that to my knowledge. So it's still hanging out there. Hiring, we do still have both sites looking for positions, various operators, laborers, administration. We did conduct a job fair in February that was quite successful. I think the bulk of the folks are coming out of Boardman. But we have a band pool set up coming out of Boardman right now, and I think people like the band pool idea. It seems to be an attractive offering for folks who want to save some money in their commute. And so that was actually fairly successful. We're still looking for about another 8 at Columbia Ridge specifically, drivers, operators, and so forth. Construction projects, we do have self-construction planned for 2018 at Chemical Waste Management. We have actually started self-construction at Columbia Ridge landfill. And then we have what we're calling phase 3 of our rail expansion, and we've got an extension up at the Red Board, which is sort of that empty track that used to run all the way to Condon. That'll allow trains to move in and out more efficiently. And then we're building a siding that will parallel the current train rail essentially from Shuttler all the way up to Columbia Ridge. So you have about a 9,500 foot siding. What that'll do is allow to bring trains in and out and/or start building a train throughout the day rather than waiting until the end of the day to put it all together. So should make this a lot more efficient, allows for more volume potential coming into Gilliam.
So on that project, you're going to use so it will actually be on the south side of Cedar Springs Road where the split happens. In other words, you're not going to be putting in a second crossing.
Oh, no, we're not crossing anything. No, other than Berthold. And we did have a meeting, Dewey came out. Oregon DOT rail group came out, they looked at it and they said, no, we'll do the same thing we have here, which is just a standard crossing right there at the vertical crossing.
Yeah, I had questions about, whether there was going to be a second crossing that went across Cedar Springs Road down near the industrial park.
No, we
Just wanted
were
to make
able
sure
to
that that's
avoid
clarified.
that. Yeah, no, I understand that's
Yeah.
a lengthy process, and
Right.
we were able to avoid that.
Okay.
So those are our projects. We continue seeking ways to engage the folks. We've got a new director in our disposal operations, and I know he was up a couple of weeks ago, went up, started talking to folks. I think he is very much a person's guy. He likes to be with people and talking and learning and so forth. And it was actually a really good interaction, and I think it's going to reflect in some of the things we go to do going forward with the team up there. So I think it was a very positive experience, and I expect him to have a positive influence in that regard. We continue to see good volumes. Multiple projects are in view, from mostly out of Seattle, dredge soil type projects, but some other MSW type projects that we're looking at. And then we're continuing to wait on the Metro RFP, which is, I think, as we sort of talked a little bit, but I think we're a front runner with that. I'd be surprised if we don't land some of that, if not all of it. Anyone have any questions?
You had kind of mentioned a little bit about the increased tonnage or increased product coming out of the Seattle area. That seems to be, I think, conversations with people up in that area. I think we're going to be looking at much more coming from their rail. Most all of it comes in by rail. Is there going to be, we've had some discussions about what the industrial park for Gilliam County and the use of it simply because of these reasons. I guess what I'm trying to get out of you guys is this going to be really important that it gets accomplished in a sooner rather than later time frame, or?
I think the rail resources here in Gilliam will be beneficial to us. The sooner the better, of course. But from a volume perspective, we are seeing a lot of growth out of that Seattle area. If you look at the, what would you call it, the infrastructure that's available up there to move waste out of that area, you really have one rail line. And I shouldn't say that. BN is up there. The problem is Republic, which is across the river, is constrained in rail space. Our big advantage here and why we can attract so much volume out of there is we can move the material out of there quickly and efficiently. And so that's half of it, getting it on the train. The other half is all the things we can do down here. And certainly the resources at Shuttler have been a benefit to us, and any kind of additional space will continue to be a benefit to us.
Okay.
I have a couple questions. On this report that I received last night, or whenever it was, it's like 19 pages. And it has a couple of Oregon DEQ solid waste inspections reported on here. Are they, when DEQ comes out and inspects, are they pre-scheduled, or do they ever just show up?
It depends. They will do, hey, I'm in the area, I want to come do an inspection, and they will do, I'll be there on Monday, March 27th. And it's not consistent. They'll do it both ways.
Okay. One of the things that they put in their inspection notes was a large number of birds, starlets, and seagulls, flock of seagulls, was observed at the time of inspection. And I'm wondering, I've been hearing from people in town about the seagulls. I was wondering what is being done about them.
So, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so that's kind of seasonal, and this season seems to be a little bit more. So we are looking with USDA we've had a permit in the past to address seagulls. We're looking at doing that again.
It might be the grasshoppers that they're attracting.
Crickets.
There was something,
Crickets.
I don't know the difference.
Warm crickets. Warm crickets.
You won't be able to take off.
Send them behind the deli.
there's also something on here about, I can't remember, but it said number 3 was, talked about ash quantities disposed, and it says none. What is this ash?
So there's, we have a monofill at the Columbia Ridge landfill inside the footprint of the landfill. And it's MSW ash, fly ash from a place up in Vancouver, incinerator of Vancouver, Canada.
And how much of that do you get?
It's scheduled to be roughly 8,000 to 10,000 tons a year.
Okay. So, but we didn't get any in February?
I don't know the answer to that. I assume we did, but if the report says no, I'll look into it, but I don't know. I haven't seen that report.
I think that was the end of my questions.
Okay. So, yeah, Columbia Ridge receives a lot of material from Washington. And that still seems like it. I know we're always battling to keep our wind energy in Oregon, and now we're robbing Washington of all this gold that goes into the landfill. Yeah, what's to keep that from changing, you know, I mean, down the line here, so. It's just more of a comment, but that's what I noticed in that report, you know, it shows where the different tonnages are coming from. And yeah, Metro's number 1, but then when you start adding up all the different Washington ones, you realize that it's pretty significant. If something happened to Washington, we'd have a big hole to fill.
Well, I think it comes back to transportation. I think that, you know, the eastern Washington side has the potential to develop a large landfill, right? That's all possible. But you don't have an infrastructure that allows for that. I think the rail that we have set up, and Gilliam County Waste Management, I think is the best mechanism for moving waste out of that metro area. Until someone builds a new railroad across the Cascades up in Washington, or, you know, they get a better route via I-82 or 80 or whichever one it is, I think we're going to stay the king for a while. I think we've got a good stretch of time to keep this going.
Yeah, I think if I remember right, it was last year about this time that the Seattle contract, a 10-year contract was signed with a 5-year, I don't think it was reopening, it was just analyzing of the contract to, you know, I think Kitsap County was involved with that also. So we're, you know, I think pretty good for at least a 5-year period of time, 10 years, unless we really screw up within a 5-year period. So.
It's hard to see the competition at this point.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to brag, it's just the rail assets that we have, and not just just the routes coming out of Seattle and so forth. It's a very good situation.
The other thing that may be helpful is that Morrow County Grain Growers of Port of Morrow are putting in a train unloading facility there to unload grain to reduce the traffic in the gorge, and so we got more room to run our garbage back out through there. Fewer trains, you know, they stop there and load onto barges the grain there, and that frees up the rail for more of your garbage trains to come on this side of the river.
Is that in Biggs, Mike?
Huh?
In Biggs is where they're doing that?
No, Port of Morrow.
Okay.
Morrow County Grain Growers is putting in a rail unloading facility there. They just broke ground.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A big expansion there at their facility. So that's good for us.
Yeah. Okay. Any further questions for these guys? Good. All right. Thanks, Alan. Thanks, Kip. Good to see you guys.
I'll look into this.
Yeah, it's sent off to Chet and Scott Steyer, also, and, yeah. So I'm amazed that it doesn't come to you at the same time.
Probably should be screened.
Be good, yeah, be a good thing to talk with Bobby about.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Thanks, sir. Okay, we're about 10 minutes away from a break here. So we have I'm going to touch with maybe some of the discussion items here, plus there's something on there you guys want to take a look at. One of them was from APHIS, USDA. There is an increase in what it is that they're asking from us this year. It's about, if I remember right, it was $2,000 over what it was last year. Hang on, I'm just trying to pull up the budget. I haven't heard, and maybe one of you have, I have not heard, actually it's, I think, $3,000 increase, Mike.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I haven't heard from anybody about somebody who's going to be doing it here. The last thing that I heard from Dave Williams was that they were going to be going through a hiring process or a recruitment process in March. This was back in December. And so I was a little bit shocked in getting this letter, although it's, was dated February 16th. I think it took a while for it to finally get to us, but anyway, yeah. So I guess I would like to know a lot more information on how they're going to supply this individual to us. I think you had some other thoughts, if I remember right.
Yeah, I'd had a conversation with Bob Thomas, finding out about how the Wheeler County situation's going out, because they left this program and went out on their own for a contract, and my conversation with him was that we could possibly have 2 people working in 3 counties, including Sherman County. And so I thought, well, we need to get this on the Tri-County Court discussion. But that, I haven't gone any further. I haven't called anybody like from Sherman County, or talked how it's going in Wheeler County. But I think it's a possibility, because it gives pretty good flexibility to move those 2 individuals where they're needed in those 3 counties during different periods of the year.
Right.
So, and quite possibly at a cheaper rate than what we have here. And probably they have a few less red tape to go through if they're not associated with a federal program through USDA. So anyway, it might be worth having Bob come in and talk to us too at the next Tri-County Court. I'm not sure that with looking at the budget time frame, whether we're going to be able, we can still budget this kind of money if we want to, and come up with a different way to run the program.
Right.
But it's going to take some work to.
Yeah, and I think I agree with, the conversation with the other 2 counties would be really important to have.
Yeah.
I know that there has been an awful lot of, shall I say, controversy in Wheeler County and how the funds are, where they're going to come from in the future. I know that there was some real question marks on anything beyond the first 6 months in this, but I do know that they have quite a constituency over there that really wants to see it go on. For us, it was a little concerning, but supposedly we're not being charged as much because we don't have somebody here servicing us.
Right.
So I just don't know, we pay them quarterly, am I correct, Nathan? Is it, that's,
Approximately quarterly.
yeah, I think it's quarterly. So I don't really know where we're at. It seemed to me like the last billing that I saw was a little bit less than what was a quarterly payment, but I didn't think it was as much less as I thought it should have been based on us being covered by Sherman County and somebody supposedly out of Wallowa. But, you know, it's something that I didn't reach out to Dave, but I will be real quickly here. And I like your thought of maybe a tri-county organization that looked at maybe a couple of different people that covered the geographic area of the 3 counties.
So far, I don't know of any lions in the motel yet, though.
Yeah.
Like they had in the
That
Dalles.
was downtown the Dalles, the Oregon Motor Inn or Motor Hotel, Motel. Yeah. I couldn't sleep, that was amazing.
Missed that. I thought it was
Yeah.
just.
You didn't
I didn't know about that. I thought you were just pulling some weird analogy. I'm sorry.
Yeah, there was actually a cougar in that motel that's right downtown.
And that's not the first time.
It's not the first time.
See that? How can you even say that? That's the weirdest thing. It's not the first time it's happened. No, no.
Yeah, it's- Okay, back to work.
Well, that's kind of work, I believe.
Yeah, they're going to be doing it, so. Also, you know, real quickly, I guess we can touch on the letter that come from the Department of Energy. And, I mean, basically what had happened is we were asked to be a part of the reviewing agency for the Carty generating station. And it was in regards, because of the transmission line that was going to be running through Gilliam County all the way over to the Slat substation up here. Well, apparently that's not going to happen. So, you know, I guess we've been kind of relieved of our duties as part of the special advisory group to the reviewing agency, at least for now. So apparently they have enough capacity on the transmission line that they don't need to put in a new one. So,
But didn't they say something that we're some other type of,
what?
in some other type of group now?
Yeah, what the heck was it? It was,
But it didn't seem like it was nearly as,
yeah, going to be. It was, what was
We
it?
were advisory.
Yeah, we're.
I have that.
I was going to highlight that and I didn't get it done.
To reviewing.
Yeah.
Now it's.
Now we're reviewing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we go from a special advisory to a reviewing agency, so.
Since we're next door.
We're next door,
Yes.
yeah. We're a neighbor,
We're like an adjacent,
Yeah.
kind of like an adjacent landowner.
right. So, anyway, I guess it's comforting to be relieved of some duties every once in a while. All right, you know, I got 1 minute till. How about if we recess for lunch and pick this back up after lunch? Give you a day. So, back into regular session, Wednesday, March 21st. It is now 1 p.m. We have a few things left on our agenda to be able to go over. At 1:15, we have an appointment with the City of Arlington. And so I see we have Mayor Upton here, but we'll pick that up at 1:15. Item 3.2 is a discussion item for that we received a letter request, a possible request from Alan Cunningham. Last year we had 2 individuals that performed internship at the Arlington TV Co-op and also the Codman Canyon State Park. It was I felt very successful. The plan with this internship is basically that the individual that does the work, or the worker, the intern, needs to show plans that this is where, you know, their educational direction is going to be into the coming year. Alan had reached out to East Cascade Workforce Investment and had
received that there was $5,000 that was available for that. Alan's request is to maybe
double the amount of kids that he had, from 2 to 4, which right now he's got enough funding for one kid. It's roughly $5,000 per student or intern. He is really looking for maybe funding to see if maybe he could get 3 more. I said that I would kind of bring this up for us to kind of think about and do some searching for maybe additional funding, that maybe it's a matching funding that we look at. I really, the only thing that I had looked into up to this point was the Workforce Investment Board. I don't know whether there's anything else out there that might be available in the grant funding. I wanted you guys to be aware that this is a request at this time. I thought it was really successful last year. I don't know whether it's something we would want to go ahead and go again with. We do have the Teddy's YCC crew that's there. It's a little bit different than what this is, but.
What did we do last year?
Well, last year, we, East Cascades Workforce Investment Board give $5,000, and we matched the $5,000 for a total of 10. So it gave us, we had 2 interns.
And where we fund this out of?
We funded it out of gain share, if I remember, last year.
Oh, gain share.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this year, last year we had some use in the court's youth activities. This year we haven't had anything for the county youth activities, at least no use. We have $10,000 that is budgeted in that category that we haven't used. So it's kind of early a little bit. June, I think, is when they're talking about these people going to work, but I just wanted to get it out in front of you guys.
Yeah, but they need to be getting their plans
Together.
Right.
So, it again was, I thought, very successful last year. I thought we got a really good report from the 2 kids that came back and talked to us. Whether it's something I guess maybe the next county court meeting, I'm hoping to have just a little bit more, well, I'm not gonna say more information, I'm gonna go as, see what we can find. This says it came to me on March 1st. I think it's after that I received it. Anyway, information.
Yeah, if it keeps growing, you're gonna have to budget for it.
Yeah, exactly, right. But I didn't, I did the $10,000 in youth activities with $5,000 in mind for this program. But where the ask is more.
We've used youth activities before for what kind?
Well, we used it for like summer basketball camps, purchasing of, maybe some athletic equipment for kids who were underprivileged, things like that.
Some of these alcohol-free parties.
Yeah, that was used for that.
Yeah.
Okay, so, anyway. All right, were you guys able to, well, let's go ahead and pick up the consider approval of the transportation building capital project to either approve, decline the ODOT. Marla has been, sent us some information on her thoughts with this. Her hopes are really to get a building built. She's got, well, $82,000 that she doesn't get used by the end of the fiscal year, $82,250, that she'd have to return to ODOT. We we really haven't looked into what the cost of the building would be. Rough guess, $400,000, $450,000 for building, of which, 82. I guess, that it's in regards to a 14-passenger bus and getting it parked inside. I sure wished I'd have known at the time that we went ahead and give the okay to get the grant on the 14-passenger bus, that we were gonna have to build a $400,000 building to be able to park it. Otherwise,
Even the 200 and some.
yeah, even the remodel that we're looking at. I guess I would have liked that information at that time. The amount of-
So are we gonna need another bay for a van for transit, for go between Condon and Waste Management? They've got one going from Boardman to here. That's,
Did Morrow County pay for that?
somebody, I think Waste Management or somebody's kind of doing that, but we gotta keep in the game.
Yeah,
If people are gonna, because I know, I meet these cars coming and going at the right time of day, easily could fill a van from Condon direction. But so far, there hasn't been anybody wanting to do it, but that's further than Boardman.
yeah.
Well, actually, from Boardman out to the waste is probably not. So, I still think the future is, it's gonna be bigger than what, this one bus.
Yeah.
Plus, we've been pushing in the courthouse for room, and office space was, at one point, was included in this plan.
Yeah. As far as, the plan, well, there really is no plan if they decide to go, purchase property, utilize county property and build a whole new building. There is no plan for that. The only plan that we have is the one that does the addition.
Right.
So I think really what she's looking for is to have Jeff work on putting together.
And there was office space at one time in that
Right.
too. But it's such a crowded space there for any
Yeah.
further expansion.
Yeah, with this proposal, it'd be basically asking the county to buy that building for us to use for the county's vehicles.
Right.
And then they would take that money along with the money that they have from ODOT and additional money from the county to build a building that.
That probably doesn't make much sense either. For us to buy it, to park our rigs in.
Well, yeah. It doesn't to me. It just seems like it's, we're, this bus, this 14-passenger bus that I'm told that it goes out all the time, but I don't see it. It's right outside my office window.
Yeah.
And I just don't know whether, maybe if it's parked here in Arlington, there might be more use of it. I don't know. Simply discussion about what you were talking about. Yesterday, I did receive an email from, and let me read it to you. I haven't been able to follow up. It came in late yesterday afternoon, and it's from Commissioner George Murdoch of Umatilla County. It says, today we had a joint meeting with Morrow County Commissioners and approved moving ahead with a joint transportation district along with the tribes. ODOT noted that the only hole in the transportation between Ontario and Portland is between Arlington and Boardman. So we talked about whether or not Gilliam County would be interested in exploring our regional cooperative with regard to closing that gap. perhaps there are folks in Arlington who travel to and from Boardman and Hermiston for work, or vice versa. Let me know if there's any interest. I don't really know, it's basically in regards to the stiff funds that we get. And I don't know, where what picks up from Arlington go to the Dalles.
Right.
I know really from the Dalles and Hood River, where they're working with the Links program through McKed and getting a lot of that covered. I don't know why if our system, the Gilliam County transportation system that we have, wouldn't be recognized in the fact that they do travel to Pendleton from, any one of those locations. So I don't really know what that's about. So I sent an email off to Commissioner Murdoch saying that, we're always interested in collaborating, but, I'm not really sure what it is that they're looking to do. And maybe either one of you have some familiarity with what they're talking about in this transportation district. It's new to me.
No, that's new to me.
Okay, so I guess I'd like to get a little bit more information on what they're talking about. I find it and a little disturbing with the, ideally what you want to have in your communities is people who work here, live here kind of thing. And I know that we have housing issues, and every time I sit down conversation with anybody from Waste Management, it is something that gets brought up, how far along, where are you guys at with that? I think they're feeling much more comfortable with at least the fact that we've got the PCDC program here. But it's kind of disturbing that we have this company willing to put together a bus to travel out of the area to bring people in. But you can understand their circumstances, I guess.
But they have something they're also talking about for at least temporary housing in place of the old housing out on their property that they quit using. They'd like to put some kind of more of an RV park there.
I heard a little bit about that. I don't know how serious those conversations are.
Well, I think it's going to the planning commission.
Is it? Okay.
But I'm not positive.
Yeah.
But anyway,
back to the house.
this bus could probably be put under, not in a building as much as it could be put under a shade too, which would make it a lot easier for winter time and be helpful in the summer too, as far as weather goes.
Right. Well, I guess for, again, I'm taking a wild guess on what the cost of this building might be, but in saying $400,000, I think there's people who we could, for, each year, for if a half-time employee paying $20,000 a year that goes out there and sweeps the snow off the bus, fires it up, getting it ready, you can, for $400,000, you can do an awful lot. It's just, to me, I do know that there could possibly be a need in the future, as the system grows. I just think that from this point forward, I think we need to take a hard look at what vehicles are being looked at and what kind of building might be needed to be able to park them. Again, that was not something at the time that we did this that was even mentioned. I, never thought about the fact that this vehicle was going to have to be parked in a building.
I mean,
And we didn't have a building.
Is it a requirement?
Not that I'm aware of. I haven't seen anything. I think it's more convenience of the volunteer driver having to come in and clean the bus up and warm it up and do all of those things that wouldn't be needed if it was parked inside. want to table it for a little bit, and we can go ahead,
Yeah.
we can go ahead and go with the city of Arlington, who was scheduled at 1:15, but. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Oh, it's the goat herders, huh?
Yeah.
Let's be careful. Your Honor, Commissioners, we're here at kind of a co-request between the local cricket committee and the city council for some additional funds to support some grazing on private property of grasses that are out of control in an attempt to help reduce the cricket crisis that we're impeding the city. This is an attempt to see if this is a viable solution to reduction or control of the crickets. We've located a commercial goat herder who's given us a bid to take care of this property. On the other hand, the positive side is it does contribute to good fire suppression, which this particular area has been a very painful area in terms of trying to get the grasses reduced in case of a fire. It borders a lot of city property, or city business properties. So this is kind of a experiment in motion, so to speak. We'll see how it's going to work. We've got a bid for approximately $4,200. Yes. The city's going to put in a couple $1,000, and we're requesting $2,200 from the county in support of this. Word has got to me that some of this property will become the county's property in the near future anyway. So that contributes to the support. And it also eliminates us and the sheriff of the county to give you a ticket for weed abatement, which is part of our programs we try to enforce around town. The council's they're not one to prize to go around and trying to clean up private properties without some sort of legal aspect to it. So we will be discussing with our legal department on recuperation of the funds that's going to cost to do this, albeit a citation and or a lien on the properties. We're exploring those avenues because we have trouble using taxpayer dollars to clean up private property, which is responsible to the property owner solely. So we're requesting some support from the county.
How many goats? We don't know.
I'm not really sure because I didn't even ask Tim how many there were. And obviously, Tim's in having surgery today, so.
Okay.
But it's only gonna take him, I believe 14 days is what he figured.
How large an area is the property?
I'm sorry. It's the, behind the deli, that hillside. And there's one main landowner there, and then there's the Corps of Engineers, and
That's
also there.
on the north side.
Right. And then there's the property by the water tower, which I believe is city property. And
Well, the city has some easements, so
Right.
they have some 60-foot easements going up the hill.
And then down by, right across from the back of the municipal building, that's the what we understand is going to become county property soon. And that area, so that would go up to the old greenhouse that burned down. That's what I know from Tim as far as.
It's pretty much that whole face across there, from north to south up to the property where the house burned.
Okay.
It's very
So
steep,
he's-
it's not easy access property, so the goats should be a good benefit of cleaning that up.
And if they clean it up, then we could actually, Gary Betancourt has said that he would provide the work crew to come in and spray if the city provided all the equipment and everything. So those, it'll still have to be sprayed after that, but it'll be easily accessible because right now, just in my experience in the last week, with the crickets being so small as they are, and I would have brought you samples today, but I left them at home.
Thank goodness.
You're welcome.
By the way.
And so, with them being so small and the grass being so tall in some of the areas that I've sprayed, it's hard to get down to kill them. So, that's why we need the grass to be gone, so you can get down to at least to where they're at.
Mhm.
Otherwise, we're just gonna have adults and have the same issue that we had previously.
Okay.
And I think I explained to you last time, I don't remember, I know I talked to Steve about it, about the grass being more protein because it hasn't been grazed for so long, rather than a carbohydrate, and that's what the crickets are looking for, is the protein as they become adults.
I have a question out here.
It's not so much a question as a statement, as I don't know if anybody in here understands what I went through last summer at the deli in a cricket battle. And I filled up about 6 of those garbage cans. I pressure washed every day into piles and picked them up. I've never used a snow shovel so much in my life. And I had customers drive in, step out of the rig, and get back in and leave.
Yep.
And it was horrible.
And I happened to be down for a day of which April was spraying at that facility at the time, and Leanne would not get out of the vehicle. And I saw the infestation that you had there, Pat, so.
It was devastating.
One other note, we have sent out letters to the property owners on our weed abatement program, which will help ease our ability to grant access to private property.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But, I mean, if we can keep them down this year, we're really working hard at keeping them down. People are going out all the time. We have the windmills. The windmill crew's involved in pinging or a GIS system. They're sending how many crickets they see per square foot, so Jordan is able to know that. So everybody's kind of working on it pretty hard, faithfully, diligently. And so I think this would really help to keep them from putting another batch of eggs in the ground, and we continue to have this problem. So we'd like to end it in the next few years. It's not going to be something that stops this year, but we could possibly have it taken care of by year 6.
Okay.
Just the way the eggs hatch.
This protein carbohydrate, say that again.
Okay, so when you have, crickets, they need to be protein and salt satiated. And so if you graze property consistently, a lot of what is going to be grown is going to be a carbohydrate instead of a protein. But when you have years and years and years of growth, the actual protein is actually higher. And I learned this down when I was in, this is what the APHIS told me, and everybody else told me when I was down in Denver.
I want to disagree with that, having had plenty of animal nutrition.
But have you overgrazed?
No,
That's what
I'm just talking about
overgrazing.
the dead stuff out there that they're going to eat, right? We're talking about the dead rye, right?
Will they eat that?
Huh?
Are they gonna eat that?
Well,
Goats is what they're telling me, goats will eat it.
right, and that doesn't have high protein.
So Leah walked up there, and there's layers and layers upon grass down
Yeah.
there. And so when I talked to APHIS about this is what they told me, so.
Yeah, right. Well, I just know when you buy straw, it's very low in protein. And that's basically what you got laying out there on the hillside. But if they eat it, that's fine.
That's the whole key.
Yeah, right, so you can get a better kill with spray for the bugs. Right.
It'll be less than canopy, so the spray will be more effective.
Yeah, right.
Because right now you can't get it down there. And they burrow at night. So if you go out at night, they're not there.
So it has to be done during the day, huh?
Well, no, the grazing can be done, but the spraying needs to be done during the day.
During the day, yeah. That's critical too, if there was the other insects. Beneficial.
It's unfortunate, they'll
Yeah.
be caught up in this.
Right.
Yeah.
Further meantime, they'll recoup. They're always-
I think it's an interesting experience.
It is, I mean, I wish that more people had done more studies on it, but when people have these issues, like in Utah or in Montana, there isn't enough time because they're just swarmed with these things.
Right.
So they don't have enough time to do a lot of studies, so they're still gonna take, we're gonna still send crickets to Montana and different locations because they are gonna do some workshops and or some studies with them. So, I'm trying right now to grow with them, actually. That's pretty funny, but.
The downside is the state knew about this 4 or 5 years ago. I researched some studies and they failed to inform us of the impending cricket explosion, so to speak. And it's unfortunate because we could have been more proactive back then, especially since we're talking now about aerial application and things of that nature and baits. And we may have been able to curb this if we'd have been more on top of this, but there was failure on the state due to the fact that they didn't have a budget in place to manage this over here on the east side. So here we are.
Oh, and there's still no money for them to help. But they are more active because they are, I do know that they were actually speaking to Waste Management about the apple maggot that can come in on the garbage this last week. So they're more, I mean, at least they're looking at us instead of just ignoring us.
From the fire suppression standpoint, how much regrowth are we gonna have after the goats are gone, or you need to bring them back in again on this?
Hopefully it'll be minimal, because unfortunately it's the timing. That, you know, now we're trying to attack the crickets, but yet we know there'll be more grass growth post-grazing. But hopefully it won't be to the extent that it is right now, where it's not. The grass is totally out of control.
Right.
Well, I don't think that, I mean, the city isn't gonna wanna do somebody's private land. I mean, it's not really their job. Right now, the problem is the crickets. But I think in the future, you still go through the abatement process with the letters that, you know, everybody has to take care of their own
Part of that, yeah,
private
and we're gonna
land.
need more support from the sheriff's department, because we work on our ordinances extensively, and part of that was because we had no teeth in our weed abatement ordinance, and we worked on that and brought in where you can get a citation under, I can't remember if it's Class B or Class C. And once it gets to court, if you keep failing to remediate the problem, that citation can become aggregate, which it can get quite expensive if you don't respond and start taking care of this. So I'm gonna have some discussions with Gary and get a little more proactivity on their part to make sure we issue these citations, because it's just not this property here. There's property all over town that hasn't been weed abated in several years, and we need to get that rectified. If you could keep on it each year, we wouldn't have this problem. So.
Okay. Thoughts, guys?
So gain share, huh?
No, I got, if you talk to Pat, I think those are predators, aren't they?
Those are predators. They prey on customers.
Yeah. So as I was talking a little bit earlier in regards to the predator control with wildlife services, wildlife services, that the amount of funding that they've been needing because of the lack of a person being here seems to shrunk what was needed there. And I think we're going to have easily, the $2,200 that we could pull out of that line item to do this. And I know it's a little bit.
That's a stretch in terms of predator control.
No.
It really is.
No, it isn't.
I saw about 50 of them off the tub.
It is. The other was probably gain share, Mike. But I thought that one might be a place that we had funding that was already sitting there. And it is. It's stretching it as far as predator goes.
What's the line item called?
It's called Predator Control Program.
Yeah.
Is this in the general fund?
It's in the general fund, yeah. It's actually in 199.
But would it be bait for a predator? I mean, because once your cycle starts, I mean, I don't know, it's stretching it too, but.
Basically for large animals.
Animals, it is. But again, not all those funds are going to be used.
Is the 10,000 gone or earmarked?
That's, I think over 60% of that has been used now for buying fertilizers and whatnot, and we're just getting started for the property owners and the citizens to be able to have the ability to spray their properties. So we've already started that program again this year, and that's kind of where we're at with that. So we anticipate, buying more product as we go forward.
Within that one category though, we've only spent about, when you talk about reserves and special payments, we've only spent about 19% of that entire category. So if we did go over in the predator, it still would be, I don't know, I was just throwing that out just simply because it's something that we had a conversation earlier about, and that felt it was different. And then when Pat spoke, I thought, okay, there's somebody who thinks
They are.
They qualify as a nuisance anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
They're big enough they could be a predator.
Some of them I saw last year, some of the ones that were on top of the garbage cans and
Eat each
Pat's.
other?
They do eat each other. They do each other, which is a good thing. But, I think we have the funds. I think we have an issue down here. I think that the approach that they're at least, trying to be a little bit proactive in getting some of this taken care of. And where the city has put up roughly $2,000, I think that's a, strong commitment. I think $2,200 for us would be wisely spent for this particular area. So.
I move that we, I'm trying to think how to word it, contribute $2,200 to the city of Arlington for the rental of goats for the Battle of the Mormon Cricket infestation.
Battle of the Mormon Crickets, made t-shirts.
Yeah.
Paid out as
Paid out of
special reserves.
special reserves.
Okay.
Seconded.
Okay. Okay, it's been moved and seconded to grant the city $2,200 for the use, for the rental of, did you say goats?
Goats.
Yeah. Goats, for the Mormon cricket infestation to be pulled out of, what did you say?
Special reserves.
Special reserves. Any further discussion?
Is that was the other line you were talking about, right? The special reserves?
No, it was gain share.
Oh, gain share.
Yeah, to be pulled out of gain share.
Oh, well, I thought you were saying.
Well, that category at
Well,
the bottom, that maybe you
yeah,
said reserves. and
yes,
special payments.
reserves and special payments, that's the entire category, Mike.
Oh, the entire
So,
category.
Yeah, that's all of these here, of which that,
Gain share is one of them?
gain share is not in there. Gain share sets in with the SIP programs. Okay, so I think what you want to do is pull it out of the predator control line.
No. I don't.
Here's the way the budget works. So it's 19% here, this entire category. When the auditors begin looking at everything, they look at reserves and special payments.
Yeah.
So we've spent, in those right here, we've only spent 19% of it. But also in that is that $125,000 that was talked about for the software and Helium,
Right.
those guys. So that's going to be coming out of there, which definitely will change where that 19% is. What we've changed is in the predator control, normally we should be at about 70%, and we're setting at 59%.
I still wouldn't take it out of there because you never know when they may come through with the bill.
Well,
It covers,
yeah.
use
The
that up.
key to it, though, is that when the auditors look at things, they look at this entire category.
Right,
And whether it
right.
got overspent.
Right.
So,
And what else is in there, what else is in that category?
well,
That we,
the website design,
contingencies, operating
Contingencies is in there.
Right.
So, I don't see us spending $300,000. So, I mean, there's quite a buffer in there in case that line item did get overspent.
Okay. Let's just take out operating contingencies then.
Okay.
I mean,
That's why we had that.
right.
Okay, so the motion will be to take it out of operating contingencies. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Happy birthday.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Now,
Good, now you can.
Yeah, it's mine too.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Jeff. April, thank you.
I didn't know
Yes.
you had a new career starting.
Good. Added to the pile. Thanks again.
Right after her.
Okay, we're setting at 1:38. At 1:30, we had consider approval of agreements with Inland Development Corporation for the fiber build. I hadn't heard anything. I did have a conversation with Jim Deason yesterday. He did have contact with Wyatt Baum, the city's attorney, who was, hadn't been completely through hadn't been completely through their contract or getting it drafted up. They're still working on that. There's really nothing more to report on this right now. The city's attorney is working hard at really trying to get something developed for them, and we're just kind of in a holding pattern while Wyatt.
Jim was encouraging us not to
until we had both contracts together.
Right?
Yeah, well, yeah, I didn't really spend that was at our last meeting. He was encouraging us to hold off until we had both the contracts there. I did have a conversation with Blake Lawrence with Inland also. He felt that it was in the best to make sure that both contracts were looking. Adam didn't feel that the two of them really were tied together, but according to Blake, they are. If one contract gets signed, it's only if it's the county's 1.2 million. There's no project until the other one gets, as far as Blake is concerned. So I know that according to Jim, that Wyatt is working hard on it and trying to get things finalized.
Okay.
So
good.
So we're moving. Table it until the very next meeting, which has us just a little bit ahead of schedule. So I guess we can talk about the approval of county court meeting minutes. How do we do?
I read the executive minutes, the shorter one.
Okay.
March 7th, I got through, I didn't get through the February 14th.
Okay.
I might have to stay late.
Okay.
We could do that.
The February or the March 7th?
March 7th.
Okay. Executive session minutes. Okay, then I entertain a motion to approve those. Okay.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the March 7th executive session minutes. Any discussion? There being none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, those are tabled. Shall we come back to the building situation?
What about the regular meeting minutes?
We could do the regular meeting minutes.
Okay. For March 7th?
Yes, I had one question. That's all. Okay, so on page 9, there's bullets. We missed bullets on Commissioner Weimer's court member reports.
Oh.
That's not a big deal, but the part where I had a question about Frontier Telnet's financials, that first sentence is kind of a stray F in there.
Right.
Yeah.
And I just wasn't sure what that was supposed to read. But you might clean that up a little bit. I think the intent was in there sort of, but.
Yeah, the letter F kind of made it questionable.
Yep. It was.
And other than that, I didn't really see anything.
Yeah. It was during Leslie had comments in regards to the frontier town man, and it's down kind of in court member reports.
Right.
I think we all kind of.
This is that.
I didn't think she was cussing in there.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't think.
Sure?
Yeah. She might have been, just a little bit, so, yeah, yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
I would move we approve the March 7th court meeting minutes
That's
taking
correct.
care of that one item.
Yeah.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the March 7th court meeting minutes as corrected. Discussion? Being none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, now can we maybe come back to that building discussion that we were kind of having?
Yeah, it seems like it's just sort of deteriorated over time here.
Yeah.
I never did quite get on board to begin with. And,
Well, initially, how the whole thing really kind of come about was the begging for additional office space. And so I had suggested, well, maybe, over in the transportation building, we could create an office over there. And then the next thing I know, we had to have a place to park this bus, of which, now, I didn't realize that aspect of things until I saw the first drawings that come out, and with the extension off of the back of that one garage door. So then I kind of had a discussion with Jeff, and Jeff said that, it was strictly trying to be able to get a place to park that bus. So, but again, for me, it's really kind of hard to spending I say $400,000. It's something around there. It's going to seems like a lot of money.
I didn't think your idea was that bad about getting a carport.
yeah. Yeah.
Something.
Something.
I wonder if it costs more than $82,000.
The 82, well, right.
Yeah, I don't, and I don't know what there was, the bus, what's really odd is there was something about being able to pull in and out of a building kind of thing, and there needed to be so much space
Right.
for them to be able to do that. Off of the.
Off street.
So you would back out onto the street.
Right, yeah, that's exactly what it was, and I don't know what, building something like this lean-to that we're talking about here, but
Right.
now, I think there might be space for that lean-to parking over where the county road department is, and the
Right.
shop that they have, or the lean-to that they have, getting it out of the weather.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how much research has been done or communication with the roadmaster in
Right.
trying to accomplish this either. But I think, I don't know whether we would be able to get even the lead-to where the bus is parked right now accomplished based on what.
That whole area would be pretty congested
Yeah,
when you get all the vehicles there.
right.
Yeah. And as far as, I think it was brought up that, well, it would help our parking at the courthouse if we bought that building for our vehicles, for
Yeah.
our motor pool,
Right.
but we still haven't used up all the parking around the courthouse yet.
Right, right.
It may be getting a little bit further to walk, but it's still there.
It's still not, yeah.
So,
I've walked it in the snow, so
yeah.
you begin to get the little shortcuts that are helpful.
Yeah, so you hate to turn back money.
Well, it's difficult enough to get outside money in
Right.
without, I mean, that's kind of probably the biggest job that we have is really trying to get, outside money into the area, developing programs and all kinds of things to get that
Right.
accomplished. And here's a situation where we kind of did that, but then suddenly but realistically, I think I think Marla put it very well in talking about the addition of she felt that it was kind of a waste of money in doing the add-on to the
that
building.
that area.
And I cannot disagree with her, but
Right.
also if I begin kind of looking at the overall picture, I sure wish I'd have known when we got that bus that this was going to be a requirement, because we might have hesitated on that.
It hasn't been a very clear path on what to do.
No, it hasn't.
But
It hasn't.
So, but this money doesn't have to be, she just has to, we have to decide something before June 30th, right? Whether or not we're going to return it or try to get an extension?
Yeah,
Right.
Leslie, that is true. I mean, I think we have a little bit of time to develop a plan if that's the case,
She also
So,
said that when I asked her
to
how
ask for the extension.
much additional monies she might have, she said somewhere between $75,000 and $100,000.
Yeah, there is.
So I was just wondering if looking into the carport option,
Right.
maybe we could at least see if that's
to be
possible.
considered. She has, I believe there was,
100,000 for both,
for buildings, or for,
It's in,
that?
It's in her fund. She has projects in both Arlington and Condon.
213.
In Condon, she's got 96,000, it's in 213, 96,525. Now, I don't know how much of this 82,000 are those funds.
None.
None? Okay. $75,000 in capital purchase reserve. And then contingency, she's got another 50,000. So, she probably does have enough funds to be able to do what Commissioner Weimer's talked about.
But then we still have to get the area.
We have to find the location.
Right. Well, that might be something.
Well, I think it's something for her to maybe contemplate.
Right. Right.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, throw that, I'll send that back to her and see what happens. Okay, I have us down to, 10 minutes before, I see Daryl's here. Should we just go ahead and pick up on the Historical Society, the rock that we had talked about earlier today? Daryl, if you want to come on up and we can talk about the request.
My decorum is not protected, it's not. Okay. I'm just here to represent the Historical Society. I'm a new member on the board, so I'm getting up to speed.
Way to get started.
It is. Daryl, we did, earlier today, Dewey was in for some other business, so this was discussed at that particular time. Just to kind of fill you in a little bit, we do have the additional rock that is available to us. We didn't actually hear what the additional cost would be to, or did we?
$10 piece of it's also
$10 a yard. I knew that on what the value of the rock was, but we didn't hear on what the labor
Yeah,
costs.
you didn't talk about that, yeah.
Those would be.
So what?
The cost for hauling of it and spreading it.
It was going to be like double that.
Yeah.
It was going to be about another 3,000.
Like, 6,100 maybe?
Yeah, that's right, I did write that.
Oh,
down.
that's right, yes.
Yeah, it was 6,100.
Right.
So, that's really the in-kind contribution that we're talking about here is $6,100 to the Historical Society to be able to get this done, I guess. And what you guys want to do, can you give us?
Right now, we have another building that's already gonna be brought in from off of, they call it Johnson Place across Rock Creek. Was donated, a shop, a little building, and we're gonna be starting putting it up fairly recent, soon. But we're also looking at expanding the property line a little bit for more room, because if we can get another building erected for displays for farm machinery, it binds us for access to get to that building. So we're talking about possibly expanding property lines.
Okay.
We're working on some property adjacent to us in that regard, but it's just in the talking right now so far.
Okay.
But the gravel is going to eventually help keep the weed situation down and being able to get machinery and vehicles in there without getting mired down during the wet weather and so on. Mainly the weeds and spraying. But I think the weather station is going to be moved out of there so we can get, we're trying to move it out of the way so the rocking, the gravel could be accomplished easier right now.
Okay.
And the new building that's going in, the donated one is not in the way of the gravel project, so it's just a one shot, full length of the property there.
Special projects?
You know, it really does fit into special projects. It's difficult on things like this as to whether it's a north or a south end project. Because
Well, in the past, sometimes we've done both, you know, split it between the two.
I would think splitting it would be an ideal way, you know, because it represents both ends of the county.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that requires an application to that
particular
program, and that
Okay.
comes up, you know, a little later this spring.
Well, I think I believe Rachel's getting ready to send out the application. She
Right.
does have a few questions for us, and
Right.
we'll probably hear those at the next core meeting. We had some issues last year on some things, some requests that we had as to whether we really didn't have any policies on some of them. Working those out. Yeah, I think needs to be done.
I know.
Issue, what I can say is it's, you know, it's going to be substantial because the additional tonnage that we received, you know, we're up quite a bit on what.
The dollar amount?
The dollar amounts.
Oh.
It seems to me like it was like 60,000. I think this coming year it's going to be 80.
Oh.
So, you know, when we were talking with Waste Management earlier today,
Yeah,
it's,
right.
you know, the Seattle, all of that is really substantial, so.
Right. But you want to do it tomorrow, right?
No.
Well, anytime,
Yeah.
basically.
I think
Like I say, it's not in the way of the other building that's coming in, so there's no problem.
But I, you know, I
But the
think-
weeds are growing.
You know, First of May, did we do the special projects,
Right, but
award
the-
those?
Yeah, but the grant awards aren't dispersed until August. Are you,
Right.
so you're talking about in order to reimburse, if they were awarded a grant, they'd reimburse the road department with the grant funds?
Well, they'd be paying.
They would just pay. I mean, it
They
would be
would pay
the
the road
grant, the
department.
county grant funds.
Yeah,
would go
but
to the
it
road
might look like a transfer for us, but I mean,
Yeah.
Rather than an in-kind, you're thinking,
yeah.
apply for a grant.
Mm.
They might have other projects there, that's what I was gonna apply for.
Yeah.
I mean, that, otherwise we start getting people coming to us all the time with these kind of projects, you know, and.
Well, this is a tourism deal.
The other project, you know, that we just did
This one.
was government project, you know,
Yeah.
SWCD, But I mean, the city in the past has come and for special projects too, but there was definitely kind of a time constraint on that at the SWCD. I think it really, I mean, doesn't hurt to have the presentation anyway. That really helps when it comes to getting the money.
Yeah, I can't say I disagree with you, Commissioner, but,
So you're recommending a presentation or something?
yeah, maybe through the special projects that we have, Carol. Yeah.
Yeah, Rachel.
They're recommending applying for a grant through the special project program.
Right, right.
That's all been discussed too. You know, that's in the law.
Okay.
But I'm just saying today it wasn't bad for you to come and talk to us. That's what I'm saying.
Well, we wanted some kind of representation, because I know she sent a letter to me.
Right.
And so, if you had any questions or anything, I can answer.
Okay. So, what we will do, preliminary numbers, I have them here, in regards to the special projects. Last year it was roughly $61,500. This year it'll be $78,669. So, kind of an idea where.
Did we have any carryover last year, or was it always used up?
I think it was all used up, Mike, because it's not gonna look like, because the year before we had overextended.
Yeah.
And so this year kind of leveled, even things back out.
And we didn't have anybody turn money back.
No, we didn't.
Either, because we've had all those different scenarios.
Right.
Yeah, right. Just in case there wasn't some still sitting. Yeah. And I think what we did then, when we had it left over, we said it goes into next year. We don't spend it out now.
Right.
And other times we spend it out, so I just to
Yeah.
make it
just
confusing.
Right. I think what we ended up doing one time was we had a late application.
Right.
But we didn't have enough requests for
Right.
all the funds, so we went ahead and funded the late application. That happened one time while I was here. So.
But that's no guarantees.
That's no guarantee. My suspicion is that this year the request for special projects might be
up,
oh, similar to the way they were, I think, last year. So, anyway, it would benefit the Gilliam County Historical Society to get in contact with Rachel Weinstein, getting that paperwork and getting that talking list work. Okay. All right. Thanks.
Thank you very much for your time.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. I think also one possibility is if we do run short, we might still be able to get some in kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
keep that in mind.
Right. Okay. We have the proposal from LGPI in regards to the county court administrator recruitment. Kind of give a pretty good breakdown of all the things that she would be doing for us, time involved in getting this done. So it all is pretty. It's the stuff that Leanne does, so it's fairly accurate as far as I was concerned, and the time that's involved in doing these kind of things and what we've done in the past. So
Pretty expensive.
it's $9,890.
Yeah. $10,000, yeah.
Yep.
But there's a lot of travel in that.
There is some travel in that,
What if we could pick, can we pick and choose a little bit of this? And I mean, would she be amenable to that, say, well, we really just want you to do this and this and this or something?
Okay.
Is it all or nothing, or can we say, can we go back and give her a counter proposal?
Oh, I think we could always give a counter proposal.
Then how many of these trips could be turned into conference call.
Yeah, conference call, yeah, that's, when I asked her about this, you know, and getting us a quote on what this might cost, I said that, you know, it would be, do it with you making a trip each and every time that was needed, giving us the opportunity to you know, see if there were things that would work best by, you know, Skyping or whatever. That way give us the opportunity to be able to adjust.
How many applicants have we had so far? Yeah, and that's the other thing too, I'm wondering about, if we end up with 2 or 3 applicants by some chance, if that's all we get, you know, something like this might be a little.
Well, let's just
Over
say,
the top.
screen the applicant, she's talking about 8 hours, it's definitely not gonna cost her 8 hours, or she's not gonna spend 8 hours doing that.
Well, and she
You know.
did put parentheses,
Yeah.
time estimate depending on volume.
Yep.
Right.
The number of applications that came in a year and a half ago for the DA legal
Position. Yeah.
assistant was, oh, I don't remember the exact number, but I think it was between 15 and 20 and similar recruitment.
And most of those really come in the last week.
I talked to, I sent a text to a Morrow County commissioner, because they recently hired administrative person, and I asked her if she would be willing to share the questions that they developed, just in case we wanted, you know, to try to come up with our own. And she
Well,
said, yeah.
Yeah, I'd already talked with Karen Wolf, who is their HR person over there, to, and you know, in the conversations with, we talked about the 3 of us on the interview committee.
Right.
I had also, you know, thought it might be beneficial to us that, and this happens a lot, is, you know, getting somebody who's experienced from another area that has done that job. Karen had a very similar position with Morrow County when she was moved strictly to HR risk management. What, year and a half, a couple of years ago, it's been a while.
Yeah.
They were kind of in a similar situation that we're in at this time. And so they ended up hiring the administrator and moved Karen over to HR risk management.
And then hired an administrative assistant also.
Right. So,
And another thing I thought about was whether we asked one of the other elected officials
correct, yeah.
to be on it, because this position works with those other people.
Right.
And
right.
I think that would be a real good.
Yeah, getting back to the Karen Wolf thing in my conversation with her, you know, it was not necessarily asking her, but what they did is they did have, you know, another entity come, or another HR type person come in to be a part of the interview committee. And wasn't necessarily voting or anything. I don't remember her saying voting, but it could have been. They just brought in additional people for the interview. And so,
Well, that all sounds good.
yeah. And, well,
It's just this dollar amount.
The dollar, yeah,
Stop.
you know, but I've been trying to these things are really, they're time consuming, very intense, very, you know, to do the things that we're being asked to do. Leanne knows she spent an awful lot of time. I think the one that seemed to be most difficult, because we were so far behind on everything, was the custodian position. And it was a small part-time job, but, you know, the job description wasn't, there was just all kinds of difficulties in going through the process, the CIS.
It's a lot easier in the road department.
Well, that probably will have to change too.
Well, but I mean, still.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
is.
it is easier than what this particular position's going to be.
Oh, yeah. Now, if you're hiring a roadmaster, be different.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. So where do you think, Leslie, I can talk to her about areas here?
Well, that was my initial thought, was to maybe ask her to develop interview questions and for us to be able to submit the ones that we may come up with, because you may have particular questions you might want to ask.
Right.
And review those. But then I was thinking that maybe, also we might be able to get CIS to do that for us, for free. And, or
Well, we've asked
also.
in the past, the answer I've got from CIS is we will review your questions.
Right.
We'll
Right,
edit
okay.
them, we'll give you feedback on them, we won't write them for you.
Well, and yeah,
Right.
and so I wondered to see what I might get from, Morrill County.
So, in phase two, it's meet with selection committee to finalize materials. That was where a lot of the questions, the kicking back and forth on what may want to be put into the interviewing questions. Then there was a second trip that.
Well, no, I don't know, because I think that's right before you put out the ad. Because later on in
Oh,
phase
it
3,
does,
it says
yes.
something about.
Discuss, that was the point that I was talking about, that I felt she put in the trip to Condon. And I said, well, maybe we could eliminate the actual trip to Condon and do that by VTEL or Skyping. I just looked in the wrong area.
Okay. Yeah, because we're almost down to phase 3.
We're close to phase 3. Yeah.
But there's only $420 in phase 2
Phase 2.
and nothing in one, yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
The key to it, was the applicants, how many of them are we going to end up with, screening those. She's got it down for 8 hours. I think this is a worst case scenario.
Oh, yeah.
But
Well, the other thing too we could do is maybe, this is just an idea, but if we only have another week until we get all the applicants in, we might see how many we end up with.
Well, yeah, once we know how many applicants. The point with this is, though, that the applications would actually go to them.
Right.
And, I guess we commit to making sure that those applications end up going to them, or so that, we know whether the minimum qualifications are being met. That was where I had a question too, was if she gets an application that doesn't even meet the minimum qualifications, are we going to even know that application came in? I insisted that I thought it was a good idea that we at least knew what that was and why it was that they were eliminated.
Oh, yeah.
So she felt that was going to be a little bit of time and going that route too, so.
And I don't mind looking over them, if that will help or save some money.
In terms of screening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what about developing the one right above that, the screening criteria? Would you do that too? Or do you want her to do that?
I don't know. I just, we gotta try to cut this somehow, or, I don't even know. Oh, sorry. My mom trying to tell me happy birthday early. When's our next meeting?
The 4th.
The 4th of April.
I don't know how much of this we need. I mean, I know I said, oh yeah, let's go ahead and use the, Ruth from LGPI, but I just did not know it was going to be this expensive.
Well, I didn't know it was going to be this expensive. I knew that the work that's involved with it was this, determining the value of what that is pretty difficult.
I mean, I guess I don't want to put this off, I don't want to make this any slower than we have already, but I would like to see how many we get. Because depending on how many we get, like I said, if we get 2 or 3, maybe it's something that the 3 of us could work through, I don't know.
As long as there's no veterans.
And like you said, maybe working with, maybe getting some information from Morrow County on what they just did, maybe working a little bit with Karen or someone like that. I don't know, this is just. I can just hear what people in Arlington would say.
People in Conema probably say the same thing.
Yeah, I say the same thing. I'm not denying it. But it's something that I've sat there and witnessed regularly, the amount of work that goes into this, and I've been saying for 2 years, 3 years, that this is becoming a very specialized. And when you hear these comments that come from the, CIS, and I hear Leanne communicating back and forth with those people on, interview questions and all of those things, it gets to the point where I felt like, man, she was spending way too much time trying to make sure that we kept our asses out of trouble. And when it come down to, things like the changes in veterans and the type of questions that can be asked, the changes in what could be in the applications, were all things that we were, but it's, so if you'd like to wait and see what we get, maybe we could, have a special meeting and discuss how we're going to handle this. Again,
I mean, that's just the thing. If we end up with 2 people, it might be something that 3 of us, maybe with some help from
Karen Wolf. And Karen, I think, would be more than happy to help us with that, as long as it is, a small amount. But if it gets to be, and really, I just kind of reached out to her to talk to her about, what they did, and whether they had additional people, and I felt her out to see would she be interested in helping us do the interview. I felt as if, yeah, she was.
So when's the deadline again?
The 28th.
A week from today.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll see what happens on the 28th. At the end of the day, we'll have an idea how many that we're going to have. At that time, I'll send out some communication, or Leanne will send out some communication. I guess we're going to be accepting these, and we can put them in a folder and go from there. Okay. Yeah. Okay. We're at court member reports. What did we do exciting the past couple of weeks? You too.
I was trying to think of what I did. I don't know, I'm not sure, but I do know that I went to a North Central Public Health District meeting. And we had John, how do you say his last name?
Zalaznik.
He was there along with, I can't remember the girl's name, that was the woman that was also, and they talked about everything they do. We basically got like a public health 101 training, and it was pretty good. And yeah, we're continuing to talk about the budget. I believe they provided the number to Nathan and you, I'm sure, of what they're requesting. from Gilliam County this year. And yeah, it was just another good meeting. I'm learning a lot about public health.
Yeah, it took me really a year and a half before I felt like I knew what
I know,
a lot of the stuff that they were
sometimes
talking
they
about
start
here.
throwing around some acronyms and I,
Yeah, had to stop them.
yeah,
Yep, yep.
but that was, and I think that was about it
Okay, okay.
for me.
Yeah. So, on the, Mike, did you have?
Oh, go ahead.
Well, on the 9th of March, the Greater Eastern Oregon Development Corporation hosted their annual luncheon, banquet, whatever you want to call it, out down here at the Gronquist Building. Representative Huffman was there to kind of give a presentation on the USDA Rural Development organization that he works for. Talked about different funding and possible grants and loans and so on and so forth. GODC were in their territory, of which they actually have, I think, 7 counties that they cover, which goes from Gilliam, Morrill, Wheeler, Grant, Malheur, Harney County. I think I'm missing one there. Can't remember which one. Umatilla. I'm missing Umatilla, so.
Oh,
How in the world did I miss that? They seem to be the, for lack of a better way of saying it, they were the big dog in the room at the time. They seem to have an awful lot of the participants were actually out of the Umatilla area. It's basically GODC is an operation that helps, get federal grant funding, state funding for economic development opportunities within the area. That's one of their main focuses. And then also working in developing loans for businesses and really working in the private sector for those kind of things. I thought it was a really good turnout. The comments that I received from virtually everybody thought that Gilliam County did a very good job in hosting it. They loved our building, thought it was absolutely fantastic, although the acoustics were as bad as they've ever been, You get that many people in the room and 3 or 4 people talking and it just kind of carries every place. But I thought it went very, very well. I give kind of a presentation on Gilliam County and where we are, this is how we started out, where we are at this particular time. I thought it went very, very well. Then, let's see, there was an all-staff meeting that happened on Tuesday the 13th. I couldn't be there. I had a dentist appointment in the Dalles, but there was really some talk about the changing of the break room and removing it, and how now the attorneys have a difficult time being able to meet with their clients, and so now they're meeting in where we have the mail room upstairs. That's kind of where the break room has been put. The staff meeting felt that that was not a very good location to have the mail. Clients that are, in a trial situation, maybe meeting with their attorneys, or in a situation to where in this trial there are 2 different parties that we need to separate.
Where were they meeting before?
They were meeting in what was the break room. Now that's where Teddy is located. So we're talking about moving the mail bin to downstairs. There's an area that leads you into the elevator. The district attorney has kind of a locked closet right there, and we're thinking about putting it in that area. Moving the mail, the postage meter into the treasurer's office where Kelly is at. We haven't really, that was a proposal. We haven't heard anything back on a yay or nay on doing that.
So is the problem where they're eating lunch, or is it where the clients are having to meet with the?
Well, these were all things that were kind of going on. Yeah, initially, there's a couple of people that eat lunch. They were eating lunch in that room. But then, every Friday we have circuit court that comes in there, and they wanted places to be able to meet with their clients that would be separate from where everybody else was at. And so that's why we were really trying to keep that office, that one particular location unused. But
Yeah, it didn't sound like, though, with the move to the smaller space, that using it for lunch break was a problem.
Yeah.
It was the fact that it could be used for other things, and the mail's in, so the mail should come in.
So, that's, I think we're in the process of getting that accomplished so that the mail is not in a location to where people are on a break or the attorneys are working with their people, or there's just people sitting in there. Because many times that is the case, it's the next person to testify that would be sitting in that room. So we felt the sooner we moved mail, better.
Okay.
I think that was about it at the staff meeting, wasn't it? I don't remember anything else. Vehicles are always talked about, but I think we've got portions of that handled. I was also on Wednesday, the 14th, at Norcor. There was the budget was a big factor that was discussed there. We, of course, as you well know, Norcor is in a position to where the larger counties are looking for anything and everything they could do to cut their costs there. Rightfully so. I think Hood River is right around $800,000 for their yearly, and Wasco County is $1 million, and we're at $150,000. So it gives you kind of an idea of where they're at. They're looking for some way, shape, or form of being able to cut things. There was a lot of discussion about some discussion about cutting juvenile out of the facility and closing it. There was also a huge discussion in the reserves that Norcor has. Based on the budget that was presented to us, it basically was going to be using about $260,000 of the reserves to be able to operate, of which that was going to cut everything down to about $650,000 worth of reserves, of which they want to try and keep that around $900,000 minimum, just so for the balance forward each and every year and being able to get it until they're able to get the funds. So consequently, that meant an increase to each one of the counties. And so there's really three proposals: one that would have a budget or a reserve of $1 million, one that would be $900,000, and then one that does nothing. So Tom McCoy has been kind of working a little bit on trying to come up with a solution. I did talk to Tom yesterday. Bottom line is the solution is to, are the other counties going to put in? If they don't put the additional amount in, then we're going to end up cutting into the reserves, and sometime during the fiscal year have to make a hard decision as to whether we continue operating as it is. That housing ICE prisoners, housing the Benton County, and what do the counties need? Discussion of maybe even going back to only 50 beds, and the staffing that it would take to operate that. So more to come. The plan was to have probably 6 different budget meetings with this to get the numbers being sent back to the counties now, each one kind of coming back with an alternative proposal. I've worked, really closely with Tom McCoy on this, just simply because we're the same, what those are. So we'll just see. Don't know what else to say other than that. Also, Frontier Telnet, we had a meeting last Friday. Where did I put my notes here? There was some discussion regarding the counties needing to take on some of the expenses in the future for Frontier Telnet. Right now, the finances are pretty dismal. We haven't been able to get the E-rate dollars. We're looking to. There's discussion right now to bring in a company that does just that, works on getting E-rate things taken care of. I think according to the person who's been working on it, there's real issues on the perception of what Frontier Telnet is, and whether it goes. The Wheeler County Wireless Project is really heading towards phase 2 of the project. We signed the FCC license to get, the radio communications and everything to get it taken care of. One, that it was like, what kind of thing happened, but there's a new office for Frontier Telnet in the Burnett Building in Sherman County, and it needed internet service. We didn't have internet there for that, so getting that taken care of.
What was the other offices doing for internet?
Well, they have internet there, Mike. It's just that, so it comes into the extension office, there's service, and then they have their own router. So the planning had their own that come in there and utilizing their own router. Frontier Telnet didn't have their own direct service, so we got that kind of taken care of. There's been a working group that's been put together with, it's really the Frontier Regional 911 to work on getting an official offer off to Grant County to begin supplying 911 services for them, and how Frontier Telnet is going to be set into the funding, the use of the infrastructure that we have. Conversations continue with Wasco County on potential use of the 911 center, all of those. Again, working on a proposal. Wasco County has some real difficulties in handling their public safety. The cost of Norcor, all of those things are really, really high. They spend about $750,000 to $800,000 in costs for their 911 center, the infrastructure and everything. That's over and above what they get in the phone taxes. So, trying to figure out a way that maybe we can cut their costs a little bit and get them on board with us. We also, one of the things that I had felt was a bit, I wasn't sure how much of it had been done, but we asked the insurance agent, Jonna Anderson, to actually meet with Mike Smith so that we could go over all the, making sure that all the components and everything are insured properly. They're still working on that, but at least we kind of got them together and began discussing that. Umatilla Morrow, they also had a digital switch similar to ours, but they didn't keep it updated, and so consequently it got to the point to where it couldn't be updated anymore. So they're in discussion with us right now and maybe utilizing our digital switch, and we're trying to calculate out what that overall value would be. We now have the fiber line that would go all the way from their digital switch location all the way to ours at Erskine in Sherman County. So we've got the capabilities of being able to do that. A lot of their radio infrastructure though, so you've got like the one location here and many different sites out here that police officers or ambulance bounce off of, and it goes to this, and then they have fiber that leads back to the 911 center. A lot of this infrastructure out here is outdated also, so they're really having to take a hard look at what it's going to take for them to be able to keep up. So they're looking hard at us. The state of Oregon completed a national interoperability survey, of which we come out pretty good on it. Frontier Telnet is in really good position with the components and everything that we had. They were really impressed with what we had. So we'll see what that. It's basically the state recognizing that our components, our equipment, and everything would be well worth using. We need to, apparently when Gilliam County is in the medical facility, the hospital in the Dalles, users of the radios are having a difficult time being able to communicate back to the 911 office. So we're having to kind of look into what needs to be done to maybe solve that problem. Apparently, in talking with Sheriff Lowry, it's not just Gilliam County, it's Sherman County also. Talking with Sheriff Lowry he was explaining that you have to go in one location in the building to be able to use the radio to talk back to So we're gonna have to look at being able to get that solved. That's when you're in the Dalles.
When you're in the Dalles Hospital,
Yeah.
yeah, cell phones don't work hardly in there either. A lot of
Yeah,
places.
that's what he was telling me, and, or that's what he was kind of telling the group, so, yeah, I think all of that is a bit of an issue just there. We did have a problem with Zayo, and it just kind of, Frontier Telnet had been doing business with the company for about 12 years. Zayo ended up buying this company when we had done a lot of the changeover, or I don't want to say changeover, moved to fiber and the connectivity. We no longer needed Zayo as an entity that we were buying product or service from. So we wanted to cancel the contract with them. They had a 90-day cancellation notice that had to be within their work that said that if not, you had to pay an early termination fee, which was about $15,000, of which we were like, we had never seen that contract, so the contract that we had with the original company did not have that in there. When Zayo took over, this is strictly their policy. So, but they never showed us, they never give us a contract. They just basically said, here's what you owe us because you're cutting off early, and didn't give us the 90 days notice. And we just said, wait a second here, what contract are you talking about? Well, they never sent us anything new, so right at this time, that work is being handled by Diana McDougal with the firm. Also, one thing that I think is really important, we are in discussion with Frontier Telnet, really kind of a story with Maupin, the city of Maupin. They received money from the state of Oregon to do a fiber build into the city. That fiber build, things didn't go well for them. Let's just put it that way. So right now, we have Q-Life and the city of Maupin, Wasco County, wanting to open up conversations with Frontier Telnet in a way of maybe getting internet capabilities down into the city of Maupin. We think that we can do it from Grass Valley location. It may end up being a wireless initially, but the state has committed, my understanding, they applied those people in that area for $500,000 to either fiber or, updating of that. So we're beginning to have conversations with Q-Life and Maupin to see what direction, well, I don't know whether it's with Maupin, but it's definitely with Q-Life and Wasco County and trying to solve what has become a pretty big issue there. A little bit of background of what happened. They were working with the company that brought in the fiber to the area. The plan is that GorgeNet would be the ISP, Q-Life would kind of be the middle mile provider, and then there would be this company that they came in with. And apparently the plan was, once everything was done, then let's go see what customers we can get. Apparently this company signed up all the good customers and left. So basically it's pay us, and so GorgeNet is going, they're not so sure that they want to be in the area now, and Q-Life is really concerned. So I don't know the inners of this, I'm just going off of what has been filled into me from the Q-Life staff.
So we'll learn something from it before we get going in Condon, huh?
Yeah, we did. So that's pretty much my Frontier Telnet. That's about I've been working on the budget, and couple of, again, dentist appointment kind of took things up. When I set my dentist appointment, it was on Tuesday, and I set it up when I was still on the public health board, so I thought, it'd all work really well for me, and I almost ended up going to the public health meeting, but I needed to get back. Yeah, just because I was in the Dalles at the time, but I ended up needing to get back to have conversations on some other things, so.
So right now, it looks like for the budget for Frontier TownNet, they may be coming to the counties for money this year.
Well, I don't think that we're going to have to come to the counties for money this year. I think really what's probably going to, Mike, giving you kind of an idea of what will probably have to happen is, right now, there's zero cost to the 911 center for any of the use of the infrastructure that's out there. When we first put the digital switch in, I shouldn't say zero cost. It was the Frontier Regional 911 said, hey, we'll give you guys $50,000 a year to be able to operate the digital switch into things. Then we ended up with having to do a service update agreement with Motorola that nobody was really aware of at the time, that the purchase of the digital switch was going in. So, yeah, and that was about $200,000 a year.
Right.
Yeah, we've been doing that.
But
Yeah.
outside of that,
Outside, of yeah.
nothing, right? No.
Right, and so what Frontier TownNet is going to be doing is probably going to the Frontier Regional 911 and asking for them to help fund the costs of keeping this up. You know, right now where Frontier TownNet is at, they're pretty good chance that the revenue that they have been operating on may not come in the future. So, yeah, we'll kind of end up having to backfill that to keep the infrastructure up. Give you guys kind of an idea. Again, I mentioned Wasco County, 750 to 800,000. I think Hood River has a 911 taxing that's $1 million a year. Umatilla Moore over there has a Umatilla Moore radio and data district that it's $1.2 million a year. These are additional funds over and above the phone taxes to operate their centers and all their equipment. So it's not cheap to do. But I'm pretty convinced that this one company, that if we can get them on board and begin working on getting the Universal Service Business Agreement for the E-rates, that would be fairly substantial in helping us solve a lot of problems. We're 4 years behind on that, giving you kind of an idea.
And the state, what do they contribute to the 911 themselves? Or does it all come through these taxes?
It all comes from the 911 phone taxes. Yeah, really at this particular time, they had to pay to be able to use the digital switch. They paid for an update, or not an update, but a patch into the system, allowing for them to go ahead and use it. Again, it was probably the plan with that was creating better communication opportunities for our police officers and being able to communicate with their police officers. So it was really more of a, you give us, we'll fix it so that we can all communicate. And so that's happening. So they're really not paying to utilize the system any at all other than what they put into the patch.
So then, do you feel that we're getting our share of the 911 dollars?
Well, so
The tax dollars that are collected.
Yeah, well,
No,
this is a pyramid. Basically, right now, all the dollars that come into the state, we get 1% of those dollars. We get 1%, Wheeler County gets 1%, Sherman County gets 1%, and Jefferson County gets a little bit more than, they get 3%. And so those dollars go into the 911 center, along with an additional $254,000 that Jefferson County puts into it, and that's how the entire 911 center operates. Now, the only dollars that would be available for any of the outside infrastructure, anything other than, if it's these dollars can be used to buy a radio and a police car,
a computer, MTD is what they call them in a police car, radios for ambulance, fire, all of these. That money can be used for that and what's in the 911 center to pay
Right.
employees. But it cannot be used for any of the outer infrastructure. So the $254,000 that Jefferson County has is available funds
Right.
for us to be able to use.
Yeah.
So the negotiation with somebody like Wright County is we get the phone tax dollars that are spent inside, a little bit more, $254,000 that would allow us to spend and the outside. Same thing with Wasco County. Get your phone tax dollars and then get a little bit extra for us to be able to take care of the infrastructure. So we're hoping for that. We're hoping for that. May not, may not come.
But that was a big change down back a while back then, where they stopped allowing you to use it outside.
Yeah, that happened in 2011, 2012, before I come into office.
So what's the state use that money for their outside system?
Well, no, they can't use it for any of the state radio project. They weren't able to use any of those funds for that. It still has to be used for.
Is this a federal rule then?
As far as I know, I don't know where the rule come from, Mike, but, the state ended up having to put, $100 million or whatever it was into the state radio project, and it's failed so far. I think a good example is Deschutes County over there. They partnered with the state, and it's been complete, well, not a complete failure. But, they've been working for at least the last year trying to clean things out.
Well, yeah, I mean, how much of the state, is being covered with our system? It seems like we ought to, they ought to seem ponying up some money for.
And, I think that's the conversation that we've had with them quite frequently. Initially it was, well, those small little counties over there, we can't even, you guys have kind of a, backyard Beverly Hillbilly system.
Yeah.
And then they came in and began checking things out, and the more we've been 2 years getting them to come in and take a look at things. And well, yeah, longer.
How about 6 or 8?
2 years that I've been on the phone saying, wait, here's what you're telling me, here's what I'm hearing. So anyway, I don't know, Mike, I just know this, is that I think we're working really hard at trying to create other ways so that we don't end up coming back to the counties. I think, again, we're kind of, the difficulty is when, there's bad information that goes out there, information that's not good for the organization. People view that, see that, and then question you, and they look at you much harder. And I think Frontier Telnet, over a period of time, was really off in the corner, nobody really cared, and then suddenly everybody saw what it was that they were doing. And they were not doing things, I'm not gonna say that things were wrong, I don't think they were as transparent as they could have been.
Well, I'm just on the state's case because.
Yeah, sure.
They shirk their education funding. They're shirking this emergency funding, it sounds to me like. I mean, I'm just trying to make you see where it's at, but I mean, that's,
Well, if I had to say, go back 8 years, maybe even 9 years, if we had insisted a little bit more on demanding Oregon Emergency Management to take a look at more of utilizing infrastructures that were already out there.
I think we hammered them as hard as we could.
I know you did. I know you guys did. There's no doubt about it. But I don't think that we got the buy-in from other portions of the state.
Yeah.
And I think had that happened, I think we'd be a lot better off today than what we are.
We'd be a lot better off at Willow Creek too. things like.
Yeah, just, you know, you're right about that, but I just, for me, right now, I believe that, you know, where we're at in this particular area, that people aren't, in the, I'm gonna say the west side of the state, they still look at us as being, okay, you know,
Oh, yeah.
it's low population, and we should, so in talking about these phone tax dollars, right now, they're looking to take what we get, the base from 3 different counties. They're working very hard at trying to get because we have one operation with 4 different counties, giving that base for the population of those 4 counties, which would cut us probably to 1/3 of what we receive now. And I know Sheriff Bencourt and Renee Heidi with the night are fighting that almost constantly and trying to
It's
prevent
kind of
that
like
from happening.
the transportation dollars and based on registration
Sure.
fee.
Vehicle registration, yeah.
Number of vehicles, so.
You know, there's so much that, you know, Frontier Telnet has done well. There are some few things that they have not done well. There's, you know, I think we really need to kind of take more of a look at the things that they've done well. But we'll see. Again, the key components of this might be the other entities that end up getting involved and continuing to recruit them in. And I think right now we have a good opportunity with the Norcor situation to see if maybe there's a way we can help them offset their public safety costs. So Mike, I think it's your turn.
Well, first of all, I had the Big Public Council of Governments meeting last Thursday. And our big thing there was we've sold the building to the next door. And I went and looked out, and I didn't know which next door we were talking about, but it's a nonprofit.
Right.
Anyway, and it'll bring us, we will make it out without the counties having to put additional money in to it. So that, the other thing was we had the AAA program. The lady from the state, Deb McEwen, was there again, and trying to keep that area up to date with what was going on. And also we had Paula Hall, the executive director of CAFFA, came and she left a packet for all the board members to see, and I'll leave it with you guys because I pick another one up on Friday.
Okay.
And that has a really good presentation of CAFFA. And Paul is really reaching out to the area to try to work with them, not over them, type of thing, but there's still a real drag from some of the board members on the idea that CAFFA could serve that area.
Okay.
And she says that, you know, if she doesn't get buy-in, she's not going to do it.
So when you say the board members, are you talking about the CAFFA board members?
I'm talking about the COG board.
Yeah, I was afraid of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, I think it'll be more important whether the senior advisory council, how they feel about it.
Right.
And, you know, they will eventually, they dissolve and it becomes a new one. But
so I'm politicking those people.
Yeah, well, anyway, those people probably, I mean, from Paula's standpoint, those people will be the ones that are on the part of the new board. And so anyway, I mean, I thought she did a real good job of presenting to them. And this has really lays it out good too. But it still comes down, her bottom line is if there's not, you know, if we don't feel like the buy-in's there and we're going to work together, But the state's really, they're really helping out. And the state is, and I think we're gonna know pretty soon.
Okay.
Actually, the contract would be starting in July.
Okay.
So that was the COG board, basically. We're taking our surplus assets, are going into the auction sales company.
Okay.
Most of them that we aren't giving out or selling to other agencies. And so that, our interim executive director is handling that. So I think things are going pretty good with the closing down with COG. Should be done by the end of the fiscal year. Also, I had a meeting with the auditor and the treasurer over the reserve funds discussion on last Friday, and we talked about using replacement costs of the county roads to put a value on them and use a useful life type of modeling to it. Then we also talked about whether we be creating new funds or not in this process. One of the thoughts was to take like the Pennington Fund and use it as one of the reserve funds that we would have. By resolution, we could change that.
Yeah, create a policy.
Right.
Resolution
Because,
policy.
I mean, like Dewey says, his idea is that it was only the interest off the Pennington Fund that he could use, And so, in this case, we're talking about that wouldn't be the way it would be structured. But, and also the fact that these reserve funds there's no way that they're going to be 100%. I mean, even like we have the endowment fund for the homeowner rebate program, and right now it is basically underfunded, and because the income comes as an endowment, it doesn't produce enough money off the interest right now. The investment income is not enough to pay for a year of rebate.
Okay.
So and then also the capital for buildings too.
Sure.
We want an area for that. So, and they could be, these could all be in the same fund with different line items, but then you get into the problems with, unless you put specific limitations on, it could be easy to rob Peter to pay Paul. So this is some of the things we're going to have to do by some type of resolution to actually put it into effect. But he was very, encouraging us to go forward with this.
Right.
And so Dewey spent quite a bit of time pulling together some of his information, and I got a long ways to go with him, I think. And it'll be an interesting exercise to come up with these values, these replacement cost values. The other thing is, let's see, I also was surveyed as a county commissioner by a lady from the Oregon Health Science on the HPV vaccine program. And you guys might know a little bit about what it is, but I heard a little bit about HPV. Right now I can't even tell you exactly what it's a virus deal.
Yeah.
And it is associated with a certain cancer, but by vaccinating young people, both male and female, then that it is possible to keep this cancer more reduced.
Okay.
And anyway, we happen to, and I threw away the statistics, but it's amazing in our county, we are so low compared to the national. And anyway, they want to look into seeing how how these areas that aren't being vaccinated can raise that number up. And so anyway, I had this survey about it, and I thought I didn't know anything about it, but she was impressed with what I had to say. So anyway, I just thought I'd share that with you too, since it came to me through the county commissioner thing that somehow my name got drawn out of the hat. I thought public health, would have been better, but she insisted that I was the one.
Okay.
So anyway, that's all I had to report.
Yeah, just to kind of talk about, you mentioned the endowment there.
Right.
That really the interest that we're earning off of is about $100,000 a year. We're committed to about $400,000 a year in homestead rebate. Yeah.
250 something?
I was thinking it was 250, but it's budgeted at 400.
Oh.
What was paid?
What was paid out is 250.
So
that's probably the accurate number. So anyway, that was one of the reasons when we really looked at the ordinance in increasing what funds going back into the endowment.
Right.
So yeah, I think we kind of addressed that a little bit with hopes of getting it to the point to where there was enough. But of course, the interest.
Right. And that can change over time as the interest rates go up.
And once those interest rates go up, then it makes it just a little bit easier. But I think that's one of the reasons why it got eliminated, is because the interest rates were high at the time and they didn't happen. So, anyway, we've been at it for a while, guys. It's Leslie's birthday, and,
I've been trying to.
we need to get her moving on. So I don't think there's anything new. Anybody have anything else to add?
Early to party.
Yeah. Yeah. So with that, with nobody having anything else, we'll adjourn. It's about 3 o'clock, so we'll adjourn.